Dirty Rotten Scandals go! Okay, are we ready? Let's go. Girly wigs, because another America's Next Top Model documentary has dropped. This time, Dirty Rotten Scandals, I believe it's called, which is... First of all, just got to say, that is a fantastic name.
Scandalous.
Couldn't have put it better myself. Isn't it funny how nothing really happens for 20 years and then suddenly everything's happening all at once? That just seems like the way the universe likes to play. So, my loves, if you've seen the America's Next Top Model Netflix documentary and my coverage here on the Chanel, you will know that around the same time we were hearing murmurings of a second, more scathing documentary dropping about 2 weeks later. That's where we are now, girly wigs. March 13th dropped this documentary, Dirty Rotten Scandals, America's Next Top Model, a two-parter made by E. Now, I've waited a few days to react to this one because I had a little feeling. I just felt it in my water, call it intuition if you like. I just had a feeling that this one was going to be a bit more, for lack of a better, more nuanced word, messy. A lot of the people that aren't featured in the Netflix documentary are featured here. As far as I understand, we've got a couple of contestants, we've got a couple of winners, and people actually involved behind the scenes of the show. Tyra, Miss J, and J Manuel, I believe, are all not involved in this documentary at all. And I do feel like perhaps more information is going to be shared about the more wild sides of America's Next Top Model because their presence isn't anywhere in the building or anywhere associated with this. But I have in fact seen discussion happening online about how trustworthy the sources and information shared in this documentary can be. Because unfortunately, when it comes to a handful of these ex-contestants, or contestants that are now ex-contestants, they have had some difficulties with adjusting to fame, and they've undergone lots of personal journeys that perhaps have not ended quite so well. Things like mental health illness, as well as substance abuse, have plagued a few of these ex-contestants' lives. And I'm not someone to say, don't believe anything anyone ever says ever, but in the words of Rebecca Moore, you don't know how ill you've been until you get well. And that means to just take things with a pinch of salt. We'll try and have some extra nuance here on the show, my lovelies. But that being said, I'm so excited for this one because apparently it is just chaos from start to finish. So make sure you're sitting down comfortably, grab yourself a beverage, and let's dive into Dirty Rotten Scandals.
Oh, scandalous.
Okay, right. Oh, totally different feeling and vibes immediately from these two documentaries. Okay, we've got February 2025, Essence Black Women in Hollywood Awards. Immediately, we're not getting the ultra rave sonic disco that happened in the Netflix documentary. So I feel like this one might be a little bit more heartfelt and perhaps might even tackle parts about the show that weren't so fun.
Over 20 years ago, I created a television show called America's Next Top Model.
Tyra Banks at the Essence Awards made an appearance because she was getting awarded as a luminary.
You guys have no idea how hard we fought to bring the diversity to that television show at a time when the world was like, what? You casting that and what? And what is that?
I just don't, the thing is, it's like, I just don't believe it still. I just don't believe it still. Ultimately, it's still a reality TV show. It wasn't just about modeling. Perhaps her intentions in season 1 were to bring diversity, to show an uncovered side of beauty. By the time we get to cycle 4 and cycle 6, we're putting grieving people 6 feet under in order to take a photo shoot of can you really sell grief. We're doing race swapping. We're dangling people over cavernous caves to see if you can truly be America's Next Top Model.
Stakes were severe.
Oh, gosh, Ebony's back. Gosh, she looks great, doesn't she?
Stakes were severe.
I trusted you with my dreams. How dare you take my life away from me?
Okay, so we have Lisa. Now, Lisa post-show is a controversial figure. I'm going to try and approach her with quite a lot of nuance because it's one of those situations where you have this person's retelling of the story and you have this person's retelling of the story, and the truth is somewhere in the middle. Stay with me. Stay with me.
Thousands of aspiring models stood in line for a chance to be America's Next Top Model.
Virginia, Salt Lake City Youth.
Virginia, go.
We were actually looking to give someone a dynamic career.
Tyra really was the holy grail.
Tyra Banks was the air that we breathed. Everyone wanted to be her.
Did everyone want to be? Oh, look who it isn't!
I coined it. I own it. Bitch.
Oh my goodness. I wonder what we're going to hear from Janice in this because Janice. Polarizing figure. Did everyone want to be Tyra Banks? Or did everyone want what Tyra Banks had? I think that's an important distinction.
She was a hardcore bitch.
Do you know what I think of bullying?
Your pictures have been wah, wah, wah.
Be quiet, but everybody be quiet! That's what is wrong with you. Stop it!
The crazier the models were, the better ratings they got on television.
Of course. This image here perfectly shows exactly how dangerous the situation for America's Next Top Model was for psych evaluations, because I don't know how... Well, I don't think that nowadays, on a reality TV show, Lisa would have perhaps made it past psych evaluations to get on TV, because I do not believe that this show was right for Lisa. I don't believe it was right.
I don't have any friends.
I raped my daughter! Okay, get her!
Oh dear. Oh, clocked at the pageant.
It was a TV show.
What are you doing here? I don't want to hear anything you have to say.
Tyra was trying to create great television.
And she did.
In 2020.
But let's not beat around the bush, Watlier.
Hello, police.
She knows what she's doing, and she knows what she's done, and she'll never admit to being wrong about it. But I don't think she is the sole problem with the whole dynamic of the show. It's just that her name is literally in the title screen.
Top model clips started showing up on social media.
Yo, Tyra and her little crew, they were hella problematic.
What if I'm going to be in this one?
Gen Z, God bless them, were like, hey, this is bad.
We are actually going to switch your...
I don't think Gen Z was. It wasn't just Gen Z. I'm not Gen Z, and I know it's bad.
Old.
This is racist.
This is all he can see. Easy reads beautiful cover girl.
This is abusive.
Yeah, and that is exactly what it is, and what it was. And it's still nostalgic to me.
Tyra declined many requests to give a public statement, which is why her Essence moment was so significant.
I refuse to have my legacy be about some stuff linked together on the internet.
You've made a steaming pile of poo-poo. You have to stand next to your steaming pile of poo-poo. And you can also own it. You can also say, it was wrong, and I'm very sorry. We're doing something different now. And we would probably also watch that.
You're breaking
Bad
the girls
example.
down
Reality
for
television gone
public
crazy.
consumption.
I was rooting for...
Is that who I think that is? Is that Joanna? That's Joanna! Most iconic photo ever taken on any show ever.
Public consumption.
I was rooting for you. We were all rooting for you. How dare you?
I had never shaved my head like that before. And they throw you out in the world and they're like, yeah, feed you to the wolves.
They're not looking for the next model. They could care less.
All Tyra is doing is counting her money.
It wasn't a modeling competition. It was psychological warfare.
Dirty rotten scandals, girl! I literally could have made that slogan. Side note, how absolutely awful it is to be embroiled in a scandal, but from the outside looking in, it is quite something, isn't it? To see a scandal of this caliber. To see any scandal, really, from the smallest to the biggest on the outside is literally like, tell me everything. Who's up first? Los Ungalales.
I was born in Harbor City.
Oh, she's also here.
California. But it's all LA. All of it is LA. I was like, Mom, I'm going on America's Next Top Model. I get to go to New York. Ah! And then it was like, surprise! You're going to be down the street from Skid Row.
Yes. They were like, surprise, you're in LA this time, aren't you?
I guess it was, maybe it was cheaper. Maybe it was cheaper.
Tyra Banks was not just a model, she was a superstar.
I will agree with that.
Top Model was a pop culture sensation.
Tyra considers herself an ugly duckling.
There's this one image that she uses consistently. Anytime she talks about body images, she always starts with that photo.
It wasn't just that gawky, cute, skinny, oh, she's so gawky and young. It was, I looked ill. People thought I was sick.
She was discovered around 17, and then she made her way to Paris and then took over the runways from there.
She, not to take away from her story, she really did do some brilliant shows and some brilliant photography in her career, or rather took photos, because she's not a very good photographer. We've seen that on America's Next Top Model. Remember the Go See lady for Jayla's Ed Hardy interview, and she opened her portfolio and went, oh God, that's awful.
What? That's awful.
And it was a Tyra Banks photo. I think she genuinely started with good intentions. But as a European person, there is absolutely an aspect to American people and LA lifestyle and like TV land that is so different from the way that we experience the world. When you meet someone who is an LA Hollywood TV person who is also American, it is an enigma. The way they see the world is like nothing I've ever seen before. And I can really tell that influence in the way that she probably genuinely thought that she was having a positive impact on the world. For maybe cycle 1, you know, started at the very beginning of it all. She had a great idea and thought, this is exactly how it needs to be. This is what I'm used to. This is the world. And then over time, it's almost become like a caricature of itself. And she still thinks that it's cycle 1 when it's not. It's like cycle 10.
Tyra was a Victoria's Secret angel. She was on the cover of the Sports Illustrated swimsuit issue. But by the mid-2000s, Tyra was no longer a 17-year-old skinny little model. And so for Tyra's career to continue,
Brian.
She had to grow outside of just the modeling world.
I must say, we're getting a lot of like spliced sentences in this documentary, but it is nice to see people outside of a studio setting. But absolutely what he said there, don't get it twisted. This was a fantastic opportunity for Tyra to get into television. You don't get immediately meetings with all of the top TV executives unless you are already well connected. That doesn't happen. Everyone who starts at the bottom who isn't connected truly would never be listened to. And that's across all industries.
The early 2000s was like the wild, wild west, not just for the internet and social media at its infancy, but also...
I don't want to listen to you.
She had gone on to do some acting, some bit parts, but she never really made it big.
The last time Tyra was in my memory was when she was dating Chris Webber.
Oh, right.
And I can't imagine that the Tyra Banks would like to go out on being just Chris Webber's girlfriend. Tyra wanted to extend her career and extend her visibility.
I mean, that you can't blame people for wanting better for their lives, can you? But we're also getting, right now, we're getting a real... Tyra didn't know. It's not Tyra's fault. She just wanted to make a name for herself. I love ambition. I love ambition in my friends. I love ambition in my social circles. I love ambition in my family. The thing about ambition that I don't like is some people really, truly think that success means other people have to fail, or you have to step over others to get to that success. That's where I find a problem. I actually think there's plenty of room at the table for all sorts of people, and I don't think a lot of people think like that, especially when it comes to business and especially when it comes to television.
The entertainment industry has always been very skeptical of models and whether or not they can act.
It's very true.
And so it was really smart for Tyra to say, the best role for me to play is me.
Everybody out here wants to be America's Next Top Model.
Because I'm involved in being part of the fashion industry for so long, it's quality control. It's not going to be like a joke. The person that wins is, we're going to go from being nobody to being the star in 8 weeks.
Do you see how different she spoke there? None of this media training where she goes, blee, de blee, de blee. At the end of every sentence, she's like, and we just didn't know. And it wasn't quite the same. You're not ready for what's happening next. This is almost a humanized version of Tyra Banks compared to the media machine that she eventually became.
Everyone wanted to be the next Tyra Banks.
They certainly... Oh, there's Mercedes!
The show was not only about trying to be a model, it was what happens when you take a dozen strangers and make them live together kind of show.
Yeah, a bit of model Big Brother.
I went in there so innocent.
Here she is.
I thought I'd never been a model before. I'm just learning. Who are these fabulous girls in this world that I want to be a part of?
A lot of them were
just
at high school.
Oh no! Oh no! Oh no! Someone's been on Comfy UI.
It happened really, really fast. Here I am in the house. I live with the girls.
They've been on Comfy UI again, because what is this connected to? What a horrible pipe system this would be for a radiator. What's that doing? Also, look at these awful windows outside. Who's living in a building that's like this outside next to awful? No, they're all wearing a Say Something belt. In fact, her top is on backwards. She breasted boobily backwards towards the window.
24/7, every day really started off with Tyra showing up when it was time to do the competition. And that's when we had an idea of what the day was going to be like.
Okay. So today, you guys are shooting a commercial. So this is where your stardom is
Oh God,
solidified.
do you remember this commercial? Oh, do you remember? This was the most, oh God. It was so rickety-hickety. It was just not good. Passion.
First, there's always like a mini challenge or some sort of weird test.
You'll be stepping on and off a moving carousel.
That is wild. I can't wait to watch that.
Loosely applied to the world of modeling.
You're gonna have to balance these items on top of your head.
Do you see what I mean about how she speaks? On top of your head. Bingly, bingly, bong. It's so formulaic how she speaks, and she didn't speak like that pre-cycle 1. Now, this is all she speaks. Every sentence is like that.
On top of your head.
Bingly,
And
bingly,
then one of
bong.
the most defining things about Top Model is the makeover episode.
Yes, it is. I wish they would stop using AI. They've got so much footage that they can use. This is ludicrous. You don't need all this. Stop it immediately. But the makeover episodes were part and parcel. Part A is very much, oh, how can we improve this person's look to make them memorable? But part B is sometimes they just give people awful makeovers for drama, and then also give them something that was so hard to manage. The whole point of being a model is that you're a canvas. A supermodel, however, is memorable, but a working model has personality as well as a look that can be adapted.
Usually comes around the 3rd to 4th episode,
Look at
depending.
those foils, that's not real.
Tyra.
Oh,
comes in
look,
and is
the
like,
scissors
"All
aren't even working.
You guys, basically, you guys all look bad. I know how to make you look good. And it did seem like the makeovers were engineered to make at least 3 people cry.
Of course they were.
Right now, yeah, it's a little Oliver Twist, but when they style it and she'll make it done, it's gonna be so pretty. Gotta trust me, okay?
And do you know what the most heartbreaking part about the makeovers have been? At least the ones that we've seen so far. There have been some cycles that I haven't even seen. I think I like zoned in and zoned out because I was busy living my life as a 15, 16, 17, 18-year-old at the time that I was watching this show. They would quite often take someone with like gorgeous, long, beautiful hair and be like, we're going to give you this much. And that is a huge change. Even when I have this much of my hair cut off, where am I? How does it work? When I have like this much of my hair cut off, I'm like, I'm a different person. I don't even recognize myself. To have your hair cut this short on television around new people in an environment where you're already feeling under pressure and under stress, and you're like, okay, I'm being filmed at every moment. I can imagine that having emotions and then having someone just push a camera in front of your face must feel like you like.
The makeup episodes every season were appointment television. They want to see if you react excessively to stress
drama.
to make a good show.
Stop using AI. Stop it.
So
You don't need
in
all
the
this.
casting process,
What was the point?
they asked personality questions to see whether
Use real B footage. Stop it. E, you've got plenty of money. Stop it.
We have a psychologist who comes and evaluates.
This is such AI slop. The clipboard is backwards.
Simply ghastly. A psychologist who comes and evaluates them even before they're chosen.
I was going to call her Janet Mock. Completely different person. This is Michelle Mock. We saw her earlier when she was talking about America's Next Top Model at the casting.
The psych evaluations were no joke. I was in a room for 2 to 4 hours.
Brittany.
They would ask, have you ever thought of wanting to commit suicide or hurt somebody? Hurt yourself? Are you depressed?
Why would you hand a clipboard to someone upside down?
It also shows Tyra, do we think they can handle the pressure?
I don't like to cast for conflict. We just cast strong personalities.
So
We just cast strong.
E interview 2003, so this would have been pre-cycle 1. She didn't cast for conflict. See, I do get the vibe that she didn't start this way. Nobody starts the supervillain, do they? They sort of morph into it. Here's
On my
Lisa.
psychological evaluations, one of the questions that they asked was about my childhood.
Mm-hmm.
It did make me feel uncomfortable, but then I was like, well, this is reality TV, so I shrugged it off as nothing.
Look at that. No one's writing in there. What is that? There's not even a space for writing. Stop using slop. What is this pen? No! Ugh. Interesting that she mentioned psych evaluation there, because there was a part of me that was like, there was none whatsoever. I have, however, heard from speaking to previous contestants that there was psych evaluation. I just think that psych evaluation in 2003 is very different from what it is now. You think 20 years ago, not that long? But in 2010, 20 years ago, would have been 1990.
Piss.
Like 20 years is one of those strange time frames that's like, it doesn't feel or sound that long ago until you look at how things have changed. And then you're like, oh, actually the entire world is different now than it was in 2006.
The show is pretty transparent about how it wants to mine the backstories of its contestants.
I don't think it was. Who's this person? Hunter Hargraves, Associate Professor of Cinema and TV Arts at the CSU at Fullerton. I like your little bow tie, but I don't think that this show was transparent in the slightest. The idea of saying that reality TV is transparent, I do not believe you. Having dealt with casting agents and having dealt with reality TV to an extent myself, and also dealing with television companies, they are not transparent. They have an idea, and it's not what they're telling you.
Tyra is trying to make a show that's entertaining, even if it is a little exploitative.
So what?
A little. Sweetie.
Just a little clit of cheese.
So what's this about your relationship with your mom?
They kept trying to pick and get more.
See? How transparent is that? How transparent is that? How transparent is that? It's not, is it? She had an idea. She went into that room and she said, tell me about your mum, with 7 hot cameras facing you. Be honest now, because you have already told us a little bit, and we'll question you on that if you decide to hesitate. Like, it's info farming.
They kept trying to pick and get more information. My mom was my abuser. They asked, what kind of abuse? How do you think your mom would feel right now?
That is not a conversation for television.
Shocking audiences by putting not just explosive confrontations on screen.
So, I want to ask this man. You just said it was slightly exploitative, and now you've said not just explosive and also shocking audiences. So is it slightly exploitative, or is it purposefully shocking audiences? Because those two things, they kind of are mutually exclusive.
You're basically presenting yourself like a moron, okay? And what are you doing, alcoholic bitch?
But also asking a lot of its contestants to perform their kind of trauma on screen.
You might as well just...
Oh, I don't know about showing her this. That doesn't seem correct.
I wasn't eating correctly.
This is not AI Lisa. This is AI Lisa. Why has she got a turtleneck on? And a bare shoulder? Where's the turtleneck? She's not even wearing a turtleneck. Oh, what's the man looking at on his camera? Stupid.
I wasn't sleeping, and I probably had a couple too many glasses of wine.
Oh, it's not getting full. There is one thing that is a huge problem in Gen AI, which I actually discovered and thought it was hilarious. If you ask an AI to generate a picture of a full glass of wine, it can't. Because online, there's never any full glasses of wine. No one ever fills the glass all the way up. God, this is going to be an expose on AI. I'm more annoyed at this. Look. It's not filling up because it doesn't know how to make that happen.
Just
how much liquid is getting in there? Stupid.
One moment away from like fully almost like losing it because they were weaponizing my childhood trauma. They just with me emotionally.
Sleeping outside. Well, that's because she's drunk. That girl got a lot of issues. Well, she doesn't crack down, bitch.
Yes, I did unfortunately find it quite difficult to watch Kim go in quite so hard on Lisa because they're all young and Lisa was dealing with some issues. She really was. And this show did not help her in the slightest. I completely give her that. I think that is basically baseline of what we can accept from this show.
Tyra made me look absolutely crazy. I felt like she decided we're gonna make a mockery of you. And then the whole world on top of that is gonna call you crazy and make fun of you. Corinne calls me an alcoholic bitch. That set the tone of what I've been called around the globe for over 15 years.
I will say that is what happened, but we did also see her instigate it by calling Corinne a moron. And unfortunately, it didn't exactly de-escalate the situation, did it? I do think that when we are getting into a heated moment, it is kind of people's responsibility on themselves to de-escalate. But then not everyone is perfect, and also they were young. Are they going to be able to like understand that in this highly stressful environment it's on them to de-escalate things? Who's to say?
I was set up to be publicly humiliated on repeat forever.
That's exactly what's happened. I don't want to see any more of this slop. Don't, like, her screens aren't even pointing at her. What is this? Who has a seven screen setup like this? What is that? Ludicrous. Is this meant to be Tyra? No, it's not. Surely. Also, what kind of keyboard is this? Who keeps a black miniature bowling ball on a keyboard? Nonsense.
Not only is Tyra on set, but Tyra goes to every single editing session.
I will say this documentary here. This was an expose documentary from 2006, I believe. This was just uploaded to YouTube 3 weeks ago, and I do want to do a reaction to that one, but my goodness me. It's all happened at once, girly wigs. You'll have to stay tuned and sound off in the comments if you want to see that. There she is, the famous photo.
She really sits there and knows exactly what she wants to see fold out on tape.
So do you care to comment on...
Oh, sorry. Fold out on tape. It probably would have been filmed on tape in the early seasons. Oh.
Ken Mock?
Oh, Nigel Basquiche.
Tyra, control freak.
I managed to dodge that question very well, didn't I? No, absolutely not. Tyra, a control freak? I don't know what you're talking about.
Okay. Is it all your fault, Ken Mock? Or is it all your fault, Tyra Banks?
That Tyra's just the face of the show. I'm here to tell you that that is a complete lie.
There
Tyra is the puppeteer that was being psychologically tortured for the entertainment of the world and for Tyra Banks and the network.
Oh, her makeup artist did her dirty there, unfortunately. I do want to say, the phrase psychological torture is an incredibly serious accusation and allegation. It is something that we see involved in military and in international criminal disputes, shall we say. It's not a phrase that I would so freely associate with reality TV, and in particular America's Next Top Model, because while I do think that it was psychological distress, I think overusing words like torture can remove how serious those words are. I'm trying to approach this as nuanced as possible because I'm not about to sit here and call someone a liar. I just think that it's very important to carefully choose the words that you say because sometimes their meaning might not accurately describe what the situation actually is. I do not think that Lisa had a great experience on this show, and I think that has followed her for years and years and years after her appearance on this show. But she did also go back for an All-Stars, so I do want to keep that within context. I'm not sure I agree with using the phrase psychological torture, because at the end of the day, this is still a reality TV show, and you can leave at any moment. Yes, there might be some consequences to leaving, perhaps contractually. Unfortunately, I've never seen an America's Next Top Model contract, so I don't know what the clause would be if you decide to leave the show early. But I'm pretty confident in saying the outcome will not be the same as actual torture.
And she did the same thing to all the other girls.
Okay. Oh, dirty rotten scandals, girl!
So are you gonna come back next season?
To America's Top Model? Of course. Until they get...
Paulina Poroskova. Gorgeous, stunning, lovely. We've not heard a single word from Paulina or Twiggy yet, have we? And here she is, so hopefully we get a little bit of information from Paulina.
No. Until they get sick of me or I say something wrong and they fire me.
Okay, well, that might happen. Oh, judge from season 1.
Chose judges. They were always over the hill supermodels. There was Paulina Poroskova, it was like Twiggy.
That's kind of rude. Over the hill supermodels. I think the phrase previously accomplished would have been perfectly fine there. Over the hill. Over the hill YouTuber Luxeria mentioned on Netflix documentary.
She is awful.
Oh God, mind you, I would describe Perez Hilton as an over-the-hill relic of culture criticism.
It was Janice Dickinson. So Tyra had the ability...
Side note, J. Manuel's toner there is pristine. Look at that silver. Oh, yes.
Tyra had the ability to say, these are my peers. But she still got to be younger and beautiful and inflate her presence. It was her show.
Well... I mean, she said that in a roundabout way that kind of was lots of jabs at everyone, but I kind of agree there. Tyra positioned herself as the ultimate expert in this scenario, as the ultimate model, the most important person on the panel. Granted, she was the executive producer, so of course she was going to. She effectively is the most important person on that panel. She's probably the only person who ever picked any of the pictures alongside Ken Mock. It's all your fault, Ken Mock!
Important judge is Tyra. But we really wanted somebody that was going to come in, that was going to kind of be a lightning rod. Someone who is not going to...
He's so young here. I could not possibly say, it's all your fault, Ken Mock, and be like, oh, sweetie, is it your fault? Well, that was a bit Gordon Ramsay, wasn't it? What did he say about Amy's Baking Company's ravioli? What was it? Oh, I did, sweetie. I said they were disgusting.
I'm Janice Dickinson. I am the world's first supermodel.
She looks great. Can't deny. Look how lovely and long and straight that hair is. In fact, not too dissimilar from mine. I will say, though, Janice lives in a very strange place when it comes to reality TV because she was dealing with her own issues. And if you've read her autobiography, you'll know that she went through some pretty drastic situations. It's very easy to be critical of Janice because what she portrayed on TV was extremely unlikable, especially when she had her own modelling agency show that we have reacted to here on the Chanel, and I've spoken to former contestants who've been on that show, and they were not treated nicely by Janice. But a lot of the ex-contestants from America's Next Top Model actually say off camera, Janice was the nicest. And it's one of these things where she must have been paid such a great wage to be this lightning rod villain, in Ken Mock's own words, because I don't think I would ever be happy to be portrayed on television in such an unlikable way that anyone 20 years later could be looking at content you've made and go, what a horrible person you were. You couldn't pay me enough.
I am the world's first supermodel.
I don't think you are.
I coined the term. Ask anybody, it was me. Ha ha.
Well, we had Twiggy on the panel and she was there before you as a supermodel, so I don't know about that.
I cast
Beautiful,
Janice. She
stunning.
was 100% my idea. I definitely wanted her because I was like, you know what? She seems like she's going to be really honest.
Why use
and
that
really
photo
tell it
of
like
her?
it is. I had no idea she was going to be as honest and as tell it like it is as she is.
Looks like you landed from another planet because you have so much teeth. You look deranged. This photograph looks like the batteries died in her vibrator.
The producers on America's Next Top Model, especially Tyra, were begging me to be harsher and cruel, like Simon Cowell was on American Idol.
Now, if that isn't quite interesting, I feel like that gives us more of a peek behind the curtain because I've not seen Janice really ever speak out about America's Next Top Model. And I'm pretty sure it's probably due to NDAs and all sorts of litigations and all sorts of not wanting to rock the boat because you kind of are in the similar TV industry. And if you speak out against a colleague who's also a backstage producer, what does that mean for your future talents? Like, I can understand the hesitation.
Tyra was able to allow Janice to be the bully in a way that gave Tyra plausible deniability.
Yes.
It's like a Hitchcock film. Go back and forth really fast to see what I mean.
If she doesn't want to be the one to say, you look fat and disgusting and your thighs are jiggling, she doesn't have to say it.
You gotta work on the thighs. That booty thing, you gotta you really watch the diet and exercise.
I was taken back by the judges and their comments. One minute they're saying, oh, you're just so beautiful. The next minute, oh, your body, look at this, you have all these issues.
God, she looks great. Look at that. What lovely hair. She's wearing absolutely bonkers contact lenses. Lovely way she's done her makeup. Beautiful lip colour. Her hair looks so styled wonderfully. The bokeh, however, on this lens that they've decided to use is very distracting. It's not smooth and buttery at all, is it? There's lots of artifacts happening here. Don't like that at all. Hopefully that's not AI, but it could be, couldn't it? What's really important to remember about America's Next Top Model and the way that they phrase it is every week is a different episode, but every episode is not a different week. Does that make any sense? The whole cycle is filmed over 6 to 8 weeks. That means one episode is done approximately every 2, 3, maybe 4 days maximum if they're doing something really, really, really big. It's not separate weeks. So when you see at judging someone say, oh, well, this week we see that you are, doing this wrong compared to last week when you were doing that, it's not been a week. It's been perhaps 3 days maximum. So how can you possibly have such a drastic difference in skill or body type or body weight or facial structure, skin structure, whatever, in 3 days?
Joanna has a lovely face. I think she needs to definitely work on her body. I think, I wouldn't want to see her in a swimsuit.
It almost felt like you're in this
Nigel,
vortex of a
unlikable.
narcissistic relationship, going from the love bombing back to getting devalued at the drop of a hat.
See her back? Joanna has one problem, and it's the midriff.
I didn't know what my backside really looked like, and to have cameras.
But they also put her in an ultra-tight corset and then went, oh no, zoom in on that issue. In a real day-to-day environment, you would never see a situation like this. Also, this is very interesting framing as well. This documentary is filled with weirdness so far. Really strange. E documentaries. I don't think I've watched many of them. The Swan documentary, also E. Might have been E. Very strange.
And to have cameras really zoning in on that and to be so young, there was this level of, I want to say, cruelness at that time that you wouldn't be able to get away with saying in this moment.
Sorry, is this meant to be the AI, Janice, Tyra, and Nigel? E, you could have done so much better. So distracting.
That you wouldn't be able to get away with saying in this moment.
Why don't we go around the room and talk about imperfections? What do you think yours is?
It really
so unacceptable.
kind of messed with my...
But remember, Tyra's still saying, it was great. We were really trying to show the world.
If you're sporting a gut, then you turn to the side and disguise it.
Really, honestly, putting that on TV was really dangerous.
Oh, she looks great here. Look at this. Very, like, villainess. Music production villainess. Love it.
On TV was really dangerous because I was so thin.
Sorry, but like, the idea that they're trying to suggest that any amount of these photo shoots will be professional is ludicrous to me. Where are you seeing that? The art direction, the costuming, the photography? No. Every now and then, America's Next Top Model fired a shot in the dark and got beautiful gold because that kind of happens when you're on a photo shoot. Not every photo is going to be a hit, and then sometimes you just accidentally strike gold, or you're aiming for gold and you get as close to it as possible, and one frame you're like, this is the moment, girls. So even within rough around the edges, like non-fantastic environments, you'll get one shot that you're like, oh, that's actually quite bijoutier. I believe in this photo shoot, it was one of Britney, actually. Britney against the waterfall. This one is often talked about by America's Next Top Model, the ANTM community, especially you on Reddit. I see you. I know. I frequent there. This photo is often talked about with like high regard as another one of the most beautiful shots from this show. And I can agree, while it's not my favorite, it is a lovely shot and you can see it in something.
I've had so many people message me and say that they developed eating disorders after watching, and it sucks.
That's a legacy from this show that is
really
never
very interesting.
spoken about from anyone in the industry, is that this show really did affect the way that young people saw themselves. Because as I've said previously, this show is not aimed at like 30-year-olds who are already established in the fashion industry. This show's core viewing demographic was 15, 16, 17-year-old girls, which means that every other cycle, someone who's watched it 2 years ago would be ready to apply. Isn't that crazy? That's so crazy. An infinite supply of your own fans to become part of the machine of America's Next Top Model.
The biggest thing that I remember about Tyra is that people kept talking about how curvy she was.
I represent the modeling world.
She's from Cycle 9. I don't recognize her yet.
So people kept talking about how curvy she was.
I represent the modeling world. It is a body that's fuller, it's thicker, it's got a booty.
You consider full?
In this industry, yeah. I'm like 20 pounds heavier than these girls, girl.
See, that is crazy, isn't it? That is absolutely crazy. She does have a killer face card. Ugh. And a lot of it is because models back in this day and age, in fact, it still happens now, which is kind of shocking to see. And when you see it, you have to kind of take a step back and go, this is incorrect. We shouldn't be doing this. A lot of the actual modeling industry is teenagers. It's 14, 15, 16-year-olds being put in adult concept photo shoots, editorial and runway, and leading 18, 19, 20, 21-year-olds to believe that that body type is achievable when that body type is a minor. You are not going to have the same body at 15 that you will at 25. And there are contestants on this show who are 25 and 26 years old. And the real industry at the time was using 14 and 15-year-olds.
Her body type is not that of like a 2000s era model, like a Kate Moss, skinny, heroin chic. Tyra was not that.
Gosh, do you remember that phrase? Heroin chic. Apparently it's coming back.
No, thank you. This is the era where the idea was the 00. Can you be able to wear low-rise pants?
Do you remember the size 0 conversation? I spent perhaps 2 years of my life chasing size 0, and I was already tiny. I was like a UK size 6, and a size 0 was a size 4 in the UK, and I remember being like, I'll never, and it's like,
Mama, this mug, hunty boot down.
Of course I won't. Of course I won't.
When Tyra would say stuff to people about their bodies, and it felt like it was coming from like a place like deep in there, where she was like, I haven't dealt with this yet, so let me just put it on you instead.
I got the same stomach, girl, and I know how to hold it in. You got to work with what you got.
It seems like Tyra is sort of working her out on other people.
And a lot of viewers feel that Tyra was working her own insecurities and her own, perhaps, industry trauma out on the girls on this show, specifically the black girls. Spoiler alert, I'm not a black girl, so I can't really speak on how it affects people, but I just would like to say what I see, and I feel like that is exactly what we saw. We would see her say these things in a sort of way of policing their bodies or their attitude that it didn't feel uplifting. It always felt a little bit scaldy rather than uplifting. Does that make sense?
Tyra really projected a lot of her traumas onto women who weren't necessarily ready to receive it.
My goodness. Did I just clock the tea?
Immediately, I was like, they're going to talk about my weight. That's going to be the thing.
You are a little perhaps nervous about your body?
Every question, everything we...
This is interesting because this is cycle 9, and in the other documentary, we'd already seen that by cycle 9 had happened, Jay Manuel and Tyra Banks had fallen out, and then Tyra decides to go, "What are you doing?" at him, and he's like, we're not hearing any of that so far. I guess because none of the core judges are involved in this show, we haven't heard anything about. I mean, we're not even halfway through this. Okay, let me continue watching. Oh!
Everything we did got tied back to my weight. When I got the makeover,
Of course, that would have been
I've
your
looked great.
storyline.
It has since become...
Oh, now I recognize her. Now I recognize her from this. Yes, I remember when they did this to her and that pink ribbon. Took me a moment, but I got there. I am old.
It has since become the Karen haircut. It was like that short blonde with the...
It is a little bit yellow, the brand new sales assistant, isn't it? That hairstyle is a little bit.
They were like, are you worried that the short hair is going to make you look fatter? What is
That's
it like
why they did
being
it. That's exactly why they did it, so that you would feel perhaps more insecure to give great TV ratings about a body that you inhabit.
I realized that I had been brought to this show to be other.
Yes.
Like they were all the ideal. They were all what everyone in America, every woman should aspire to look like. And I was something else.
This is quite often a conversation that is left out of the fashion and, I guess, creative industries full stop. There needs to be that sense of desire and aspiration. And within that dynamic, it's the connection between desire and aspiration. That's where sales lives. And do not get it twisted. The fashion industry only exists because of sales. In order for someone to be separated from their money, there has to be a concept of desire there. You have to covet something that you either don't have or want to be, and the corporations and companies know this, and they want to exploit that as hard as possible to make you go, I have parted with my hard-earned cash to get this thing that will either make me look this way or give me access to this lifestyle. This is exactly what we see with celebrity culture now, and also huge influencer culture. It's the same thing repackaged. It is that desire that leads to a sale, and that is why plus-size bodies, especially on things like America's Next Top Model, were never, ever shown as aspirational, because culture at the time, especially media-fed culture, did not create the desire of wanting to be this way in the mainstream. And as someone who has undergone a weight management journey, I think there is so much toxicity around weight loss culture, and you should only ever undergo something if you truly believe that it will increase your quality of life, because that's what it is meant to be. Don't let someone sell you into an idea that's fake. Don't let these thoughts fester and create open wounds in the mental mind. Do something for yourself that will make your quality of life better. That's all you can do.
It just confirmed every bad thought that an eating disorder had already planted in my head.
There would always be a plus-size model or two, and they were kind of cannon fodder. It was, on one hand, saying...
Cannon fodder is the word.
We want women of all sizes, but then when there were women of all sizes treating the women of different sizes like
We know you're plus size. Suck a gut, baby. Anything hanging out, it looks nasty.
They were just recruiting these women who weren't traditional model size and then throwing them to the wolves.
That is exactly what they were doing, and that was exactly what was happening. And this stylist moment here makes me so angry when she stabbed Takara with that safety pin and then was like, well, the clothes don't fit you, so it's your fault.
Think that I'm going to be able to get a rack like this loaded with clothes in your size. I don't think that you realize how this whole modeling thing works.
What awful woman. A, it's a TV show, not a real modeling set. B, that's your legacy forever on television.
When she came in, Sarah was openly a plus-size model. But then, over the course of filming, Sarah lost weight, and that became a problem.
Lost quite a bit of weight.
People have said that, and I haven't been trying to, but people keep mentioning it.
Sarah was told that you're pretty despite this thing. And by virtue of what production has you doing, you lose weight. And they hold that against you.
The judges feel like you, Sarah, your place in the industry is kind of confusing right now because models are so skinny or they're plus size.
Was told I was too thin.
It's ludicrous to suggest such a thing because the difference between too skinny and plus size is like this much in the modelling industry, especially back in this day and age. Like a size 0 was correct and a size 2.
Gargantuan girl, quickly, we'll blast you into space. I don't ever want to see that again.
But too fat to be an America's Next Top Model.
Of course, because you can't
Tyra
win.
Banks can't
the whole point
shake
is you
up
can't win.
standards of beauty while ultimately crowning the person who suits the standard of beauty.
Not crowning.
Here she is reinforcing the status quo when she promised us the opposite.
Because she's lying. Like, we know. She's lying. She's lying.
When you create an environment that you told me was gonna be better than this, and then you make it worse, that's up.
I will agree with that, it is. So far, I will say this documentary has been a completely different vibe to the one we saw on Netflix. Is it as much of an expose so far? Perhaps little bits. We're definitely getting more actual backstage understanding from the contestants' point of view. And I do feel like the questions are going a little bit deeper, but we're also getting a lot of extra fluff in a way. Like, in a perfect world, I want this to be a reunion between all of the contestants, Janice Dickinson, Jay Manuel, Tyra Banks, all in a round table, given the opportunity to share how they felt. That's what I want. I don't really want journalists, Perez Hilton, to sit on camera and say things people are tweeting. That's not really what I want. Do you call it tweeting anymore? Oh, don't even go on that app.
One of the things the viewers never really realized we were going through is the amount of deliberation and the feedback from the judges. We might see a clip of one comment.
I think it's the worst picture I've ever seen in my life. Your hair looks like a cockatoo there and here.
But we would be in front of the judges for hours.
The elimination days were
day,
usually
right?
minimum 12 hours, sometimes 18, until 2, 3, 4 in the morning.
That is obscene. Also, like, look at that. God, it's just trash. Sorry, I'm so distracted by how bad the AI is they've decided to use for some reason. I would not like to stand in front of a judging panel for 12 to 18 hours. Would you? No!
First day, one of the crew members warned us. They were like, look, a girl faints every week. So if you feel like you're feeling faint, don't be a hero. Raise your hand and someone will come help you. And I remember I thought like, oh my God, these skinny bitches can't even stand for a while, like, and they're fainting. First day, it was me. I had to raise my hand and I almost went down.
All of us were sleep deprived. All of us.
What is this? What is this? What is this?
The bins.
What is this? Awful.
All of us weren't able to eat enough food. They know what they're doing. It's all intentional.
I agree with that.
If you can get through the pressure and look like a model,
And get through judging and get through us being evil, just knock you down and build you back up, then you have what it takes to become America's Next Top Model.
God, I hate the AI. I'm not gonna stop talking about it. How dare you?
Then you have what it takes to become America's Next Top Model.
See, the more I see of them in this sort of scenario, I'm like, oh, I don't like it, girl. The show did amazing stuff for queer representation, and actually seeing people be fabulous on TV is incredible. But I'm also like, why? Why are you saying these hateful things, please? Like, the representation is important, but you have to represent nicely.
Lights were always on, even when you were ready to go to bed. There was no cell phone usage.
Where is he looking? Why is his mouth on the eyepiece? What are you doing? Stupid.
You were not allowed to leave the house. No windows were allowed to be
Those
opened.
are quite some earrings as well,
If
aren't
we
they?
didn't follow the rules, we would be punished. They could take away our books, take away our iPods. So we would have to sit in silence for hours.
You're squeezing into an apartment with so many girls and only one bathroom's working.
And the rules are we will not film you in the shower or in the toilet stalls if there's only one of you. But the second there's two of you, we can film you. And also, you guys should shower together for the environment.
What a surprise! Okay, well, we heard from Shandy and Netflix on the Netflix documentary about how they manage to film when there's someone else in with you, and I think that is so shocking, so shocking. The people that I know that have been involved in reality TV, there is a phrase called on ice, and I'm sure it's different for whichever franchise that you are with, and it basically means no speaking. Do not speak to each other until the cameras are on. And I bet you at that point in that moment, you must kind of feel a little bit like, I'm not the star here. Like this is hard work and I am being used to make other people look even more like stars.
You're almost an animal for spectator sport versus a human being. Felt like it was an experiment.
Oh, yes.
For the most part on my season, the producers just wanted to instigate conflict, but the photo shoot in Africa was something else.
You're gonna be dancing with 3 hot guys.
What a lot of people didn't see was that, like, behind the scenes, the male model Burkini was actually hardcore flirting with me, telling me that he was gonna come to the States and find me, and he wanted to be with me, and it was just a lot.
You give me that side.
Sorry, gotta go right in the wardrobe after it.
We actually saw it, and it was not easy to watch either. And no one in production or TV or behind the camera, in front of the camera, no one stepped in and was like, we're going to help you now. And then Tyra, in the last documentary, was like, oh, boo-boo, we didn't know. Yes, you did. You're an executive producer. Every single iota of information will go through you before it goes to air.
This is so cringe to watch. Gotta break this out.
I do think it's a bit
He was
unethical
like
to show them
grunting
again.
as he was dancing with me, and he
Maybe
stood
they
a lot
agreed.
closer to me than the other models. He had on this tiny little loincloth fabric. I realized that he actually had an erection.
What's the issue?
I know it's not about feeling comfortable, but hear him moaning it.
Oh my goodness, actually?
Hear him moaning it just threw me off.
Moaning where?
Like on me. Like, I'm sorry, I just didn't feel comfortable.
It was flipped into me being a bit of a diva.
We're here in a professional situation. There are like 50 of us sitting here on set.
Right.
We going with the flow.
When your space is invaded and you're put in a tough situation.
Yeah, imagine, hang on for a second, if this was flipped in any way, shape, or form, and Kenya in this situation was a male model, and the male model had to dance with other male models, and suddenly one of them got excited and was rubbing on him, you would immediately expect the environment to be like, oh, hang on a second, we're gonna stop now. This is not, like, what is this selling? What is the point of this shoot? The shoot is to sell, so this is going on a different route that needs to be curbed back to where we're going. I will never, ever, 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 ever agree that shoot should have carried on. It should have been stopped immediately. And as a photographer, I wouldn't want to capture someone being in that scenario. I would not want that taint on my lens. I would not want to think, oh, I was responsible for being like, yeah, we'll just go with the flow and carry on with that. Yeah, you just keep doing. No, I would be like, no, I'm not capturing that. But the photographers that were invited on this show, and it's such a shame that none of them have come to do an interview about being on America's Next Top Model as a professional in the industry. They were always introduced as these like almost demigod figures that it's like, you have to impress them. If you don't impress the photographer, oh, it's all over for you. Actually, on a photo shoot, everyone works with the creative brief to get an outcome that can be sold or desirable or make money. Granted, there are weird photographers out there, but those photographers usually don't make it very far in industry because they're so weird.
It almost feels even more sinister to be in front of everyone.
Yes,
I really
of course.
thought that
Humiliation.
I would be applauded for speaking up for myself.
No.
What's even crazier to me about that scenario is that it's not a real job. Kenya wasn't a girl who had to get the job done so that she can pay her bills next week. This was a fake shoot on a fake show. And there are people in charge who can do something about it.
Absolutely.
There has to be a way that you can handle it. You know, you have to be able to be in control.
Like with your feminine wiles, like, boy, you best to back up before I knock you upside the head. But you do it in a fun way where he knows to back the heck up, but it doesn't.
She gave him multiple times when she was like, no, I'm doing this. No, I'm doing that. No, I'm doing this. He didn't take it for an answer. So why didn't anyone go over to him and say, you can't treat our models like that or you'll go off set? Again, the onus was put on the victim to do something about it. It's unacceptable. We need more people to come forward. We need the photographers to come forward. We need the video editors to come forward. We need more people, more industry people to come forward.
Doesn't really put static in the air because then it makes you uncomfortable.
Tyra Banks reprimanded you for not handling real sexual harassment on a fake shoot. You have to wonder what Tyra went through to think that that's the way you handle a situation like that.
And I do think that in cycle 1, when she was giving the interviews leading up to cycle 1 airing, I feel like she had a more human air about her. By the time we're on cycle 4, it's gone. That's gone, girls. She saw the fame, she saw the money, she saw the TV credits and was like, that's it. Bye, everyone else.
But then my empathy has to go out the window because you visited upon that girl something that was probably traumatic to you.
It's just so interesting, like watching it back to little Kenya, because Tyra's a grown woman at this time. I was 19 years old. It should have never unfolded that way.
Absolutely. You should have been protected.
Moments like what Jada endured are particularly frustrating because ultimately what you're doing is a little bit of a humiliation ritual.
You think, oh my God. Okay. And I say, I don't like it.
Jada's partner, Nacho, tells Jada that he doesn't even like black girls.
That man just was like, I don't want to kiss her. I don't really like black girls. Again, a fake shoot with a real racist in a fake scenario that you all created.
Well, you're gonna have to...
Yeah, sorry, hang on. I do vaguely remember this, actually. By the way, my lovelies, if you are brand new here, my name is Luxeria, and I react to every single episode of America's Next Top Model. Currently, we are all the way up to cycle 6, in between other scandalous, salacious reality TV shows from the early 2000s, and some perhaps a little bit more modern. We've covered The Swan, we've covered Bridalplasty, and we're also doing Glow Up. And every couple of weeks, I do an America's Next Top Model episode. And with that, back to the documentary.
Well, you're gonna have to give him a kiss to make him love some black girls, because what do they say? Once they go black,
they don't go back.
There you go.
No.
Jada, you can't cry because we don't have time to fix your makeup.
I can't do this.
She expressed her discomfort over and over and over again. And they made her do this fake commercial with a real racist.
Absolutely.
You told me that this is the guy that said that he didn't want to kiss a black girl?
He doesn't like black girls.
Oh, he's just an extra.
That should not have stopped her from doing the job that she was sent there to do.
At what point do you get to put your...
I think Miss J is going to bother me a little bit as the cycles go on, because great representation to start with, but it just kind of goes wrong. Dirty rotten scandals, girl!
I can actually believe that Tyra thinks that representation feels important.
I want to be out, like I'm gay, and
here we go. Are we getting
I'm
the
really
queer
proud
section
of it.
now?
But in the wrong hands, is representation enough? It absolutely is not.
I think there's a certain thing of being proud. Like, I'm black and proud, you know what I mean? But I'm not like walking on the red carpet. I'm black. Yeah, I'm proud.
One of the things that queer phobia kind of generates is this idea that like of a looming predator. I can't be safe around you because you are attracted to my gender. Therefore, anything you do is automatically sexual.
Absolutely.
Beautiful? Yeah.
It becomes, again, this contradictory message in which we want to support queer inclusivity, but we also need to somehow make a spectacle of it at the same time.
Absolutely, I will agree with that.
In those early days...
Absolutely, this show made a spectacle, but Kim also wasn't likable for quite a lot of that cycle that she was in. It's hard, isn't it? Because representation matters, but good representation matters even more.
You couldn't find lesbians anywhere on television outside of Ellen, and you certainly couldn't find a black lesbian.
We know you're a lesbian. How do
Ebony
you
did
feel
great.
about
She
expressing
did
that on
so
national
good.
television?
In the face of all this, Ebony did so good.
People never assume I'm gay. I thought my sexuality was something between me and everybody that was producing the project. But Tyra Banks choosing to say that I was gay and putting that out there without talking to me first, I was floored.
Yes.
We're talking the 90s, 2000s. When you think about that time, being openly homosexual was actively exposing yourself to danger.
I just wondered, what did she think was going to happen to me afterwards? I would get random calls from churches telling me to come back to the Lord. I didn't understand how churches got my number.
If you were to ask Tyra, I'm sure she would say, well, I gave you a platform. But a platform, it's not safety, it's scrutiny, it's surveillance. It's inviting millions of people to have judgments on how you live your life.
It is. Okay. This is ISIS. I have a feeling that we're going to listen to something quite difficult here. I have a feeling they might introduce ISIS as the first trans contestant. She was the first televised trans contestant, but there was another trans contestant years before ISIS called Claudia, who we saw on Janice Dickinson's modelling agency, and Janice ridiculed Claudia from start to finish. In fact, that whole show did. Even other contestants did. And I've said this a few times. I've even said this to Claudia herself, that being the first of a kind on television is bittersweet. You have to be almost better than every other person in that room, or they will run away with one thing about you. And it requires such a stoicism and an immovability within your soul and your heart and your mind that is not human. You have to kind of be superhuman to be the first of a trans persuasion or a queer persuasion on television or in an environment where we are not there. And that is so unacceptable to ask of people to be super people when you can only expect them to be human. But this kind of television was never about that. It was about ratings.
One of the first representations of a trans woman on television was on Top Model.
But that's not true, Perez. That's actually not true. It's just not true. We had many trans people on television before ISIS.
But the other girls weren't very nice to ISIS.
They were
Growing up
not.
in the South, you don't exactly run into a he-she every day.
You walk around like that in a small town, you get shot.
The transphobia is harder to swallow than some of the other stuff because there wasn't really any other trans representation on the show. And so it really does feel like ISIS is being picked on.
Damn, ISIS, you need to shave, yeah.
I think Tara's belief is I should get a pat on the back simply for the idea of acknowledging that a trans person exists and is worth talking to.
Absolutely.
But if you're someone with visible marginal identities, there's little reward in being the primary person to break a boundary. You're the person.
Yeah, you're kind of expected to be an absolute expert in all sorts of facets of life and ultimately, consistently, a teacher. I do not mind being here on YouTube and sharing aspects and anecdotes about my story and my transsexual identity. I do not speak for every trans person, and I should also not immediately be expected to be an ultimate educator. Sometimes I can be, but don't approach me in Sainsbury's and dehumanize me by immediately asking about my genital conformation.
The she actually used to be he, and I think still is.
Tyra wasn't trying to help these girls.
Stupid man.
They were trying to create a great TV show.
Well, even a broken clock. I love the fact that we never saw Nicole again. She was like, I've won, bye.
In the first couple seasons, it tried to take itself a little bit seriously, and then it just got, like, wacky.
That's exactly
These
what
are
happened.
giant Madagascar
We've
hissing cocks.
just seen this episode. The idea of rhinestoning a cockroach and wearing it as an accessory. No, definitely not. You're not an avant-garde designer. You're awful.
Cockroaches. Oh, he's going crazy.
We were put through things that would never happen in real life.
So you girls are going to be shooting with a bull.
Listen,
Borrowed
I
Hasselblad.
think there is some thrill in watching pretty people be tortured.
These girls have to be prepared to do almost anything to sell a garment.
I'm freaking bleeding.
The irony, of course, is nobody's buying these garments. This isn't for sale. This is for television consumption. This isn't actual editorial or actual catalogue or actual commercial or actual runway, girls.
America's Next Top Model is also a social experiment. What people are willing to do for fame, what they're willing to endure to get it.
You find out what someone's fear is, and then
Is
you find out.
this is meant to be Tyra Banks, isn't it? This is insane. Somebody put in that prompt. Ginger blowout and a daytime tweed staring at screens. No.
If you find out the girl is afraid of spiders, guess what she's going to be doing?
I'm deathly afraid.
A photo shoot with spiders.
Can I get a tissue paper, please?
They made these models work with snakes.
Take a breath. Take a breath. Feel snake.
It's okay, James.
Heights.
Do you want to come up, Katie?
Give me a second.
Okay.
Dangling over a pit probably was more of a liability than an actual shot for a magazine.
Absolutely.
But I thought there's a modeling contract eventually that you're going to be able to have. Just go for it.
She did have a
There
great
were
shot.
a lot of things done in Top Model that they got wrong. And one challenge got it very wrong.
I think Hulu banned this one now. Someone should have refused to...
Oh yes, the race swapping episode. Now, this is available on my YouTube channel to watch because television companies are trying to scrub it, and it will eventually become lost media. And I have a funny feeling one day my video will be copyright struck, and that means that it will not be able to be seen publicly.
The Got Milk challenge photo
It was a milk
shoot
advert as well. A milk advert with children.
Degrading. It was just
ludicrous.
Stupid.
That episode, there are literally people in blackface on TV in the 2000s.
The challenge here really is taking on the persona of that other ethnicity.
Everyone seems kind of like, okay, girl, I guess I'll do this because I'd like to win the show. But
We're not having AI recreations of this photo shoot. We're not having AI recreations of this photo. The producers of this documentary need to have a word with themselves.
I remember watching that as it was airing and being like, I don't know, man. This doesn't seem... I don't think we should be
Yeah, we
doing
knew
this.
it was wrong back then.
Michelle? Yeah. An Eskimo. Kenya.
Also, that word is a slur, isn't it?
Korean. Brittany. An African-American woman.
I think Tyra thinks that she's introducing a conversation about us all being one and what are the things that bring us together versus bring us apart. But instead, it's like a caricature of existing racist tropes.
Exactly, that is exactly what it was. That is exactly what it was. But also, I can't imagine how Got Milk was like, this is great, love this. Our legacy will be this.
That so many of the creatives working on Top Model were people of color. Tyra, a black woman. Ken Mock, an Asian man. They knew what they were doing was edgy, but they viewed it as edgy and not wrong.
Yes.
At the time,
broken clock.
Because Tyra Banks is an African-American woman and she's wanting me to transport me into an African-American woman, I truly didn't see anything of it. None of us did. And whatever Tyra says us to do, we do. No one wants to go home.
Yeah.
As a 19...
That's just it. You also have to understand the power dynamic that was at play here of these are brand new girls, never been on TV, barely even an adult, barely left their hometown, some of them, and being invited into this wild scenario and being told, if you don't do what I say to do right now, leave. You can almost feel that gold dust opportunity slipping away. So of course, people are going to put up with a lot more boundary breaking than would ever be in any other walk of life.
As a 19-year-old, you don't really have the courage at that time to say, hey, this is,
what are you doing?
Isn't politically correct or, whatever you may feel. Because there was a potential for you to go home and for this whole dream and opportunity to just be over.
Literally what
Tyra had the ability to make or break you.
Oopsie.
We're all scared of Tyra.
I think that the race swap challenges that the show did a couple of times, in some ways,
They
have
did,
become
that's
a little
the thing. They did it more than once. They did it more than once.
bit of a scapegoat so that contemporary reality television doesn't have to grapple with its own issues of racism. It's not so much that the race swap itself as a challenge was inherently offensive, although it's offensive. The worst thing about that challenge was the judging panel and the ways that they seem to understand racial identity, such that it's a thing that can be authentically performed.
Brittany, sister, you look like a black girl. You like my cousin.
I was feeling it. I loved it.
It's one thing if you take a young white woman and put some dark makeup on her and an afro wig. It's another thing to say you need to embody blackness and celebrate her for, I don't know, just sort of acting like she has an attitude.
It just kind of made it into a weird parody, especially as there were kids involved and also like milk mustaches because it was for a milk advert. Like any amount of possible nuance or discourse exploration was immediately erased. It didn't need to happen. Also, a modelling competition reality TV show is not the place to have that conversation anyway.
You realize the show wants to celebrate blackness, but only a very limited idea of what blackness can be.
Yeah,
That's the ghetto
something that could
walk.
easily
if
be
she
replicated.
took a little bit of hoochie out of that ghetto walk, that would have been Naomi.
Tyra seemed weirdly obsessed with and repulsed by all things ghetto, like obvious markers of like lower middle class, lower class Black people. But then Tyra always went out of her way to cast women who were coded in that way.
Do you really
So
think you
that
can have a
she
cover girl
could
contract with
feel
the Gap in your
better.
room? Yeah, why not? This is all people see. It's easier, he's a beautiful cover girl. It's not marketable.
But remember, oh, we're breaking the boundaries, girly wig, the boundaries broken.
I remember feeling really uncomfortable by this idea that Danny's gap needed to be fixed. The show seemed to be equating her gap with a particular type of Blackness that was undesirable within that industry.
Being unapologetically working class and Black at the same time, it prohibits you from being able to be viewed as relatable. So as a result, you're gonna be consistently punished for being a product of your own circumstances.
Wow, I've never heard it said
We
like
love
that
your
before.
team. We'd love to exaggerate that and take you a little bit more to Lauren Hutton.
And then to try to expand this white girl's teeth on camera is not a contradiction that feels out of place at all with Tyra.
Tyra Banks, as a Black woman, there are many things that she did that she knew better.
With your skin texture, being an African-American woman, it should be like butter. At the retouching session, your photo was the hardest that we had to do.
Tyra Banks was retouched within an inch of her life for every single photo that you've ever seen on America's Next Top Model.
That I believe that it's lost on Tyra how offensive and hurtful it is to call a Black woman, especially a dark-skinned one, ashy.
When she said my skin texture was too rough, she knew my skin texture wasn't too rough. She knew what she was doing.
As a Black woman in high fashion, I'm sure, Tyra was made to feel ghetto, lower class, inferior. And so I can imagine that has a lot to do with her obsession with Black presentation in different spaces.
Tyra really loved Eva, didn't she? I feel like Eva is one of Tyra's like favorite contestants from the show.
The thing is, your job is to get therapy, not
Borrowed Hasselblad.
20 years of abusive television. Those girls didn't deserve that.
Agree. Goodness, we are getting some actual important conversations talked about in this documentary. I don't feel like we saw a lot of that in the Netflix one. It was a little bit more sensationalist and almost, as I said, it felt like an advert for the upcoming Cycle 25. This does not feel like that.
Supermodel Tyra Banks was in the middle of a bitter feud with another top model, Naomi Campbell.
Tyra felt like she was bullied by Naomi Campbell, that there wasn't room for two Black girls in the industry.
I just want to say, I find it very difficult to have conversations around Naomi Campbell now, seeing as she was so close to Ghislaine Maxwell. God, I wonder if that's against YouTube policy guidelines to bring up a name like that. Given how so close she was and her role within the modeling industry, it makes it very difficult to even think or talk about Naomi Campbell, and I won't be going any further from that.
I think I've been a serious victim of pitting one Black model against another. My mom would look at fashion magazines. It's just Iman.
Oh my goodness, that's Tyra's old nose.
It's just Iman. That's all you saw. And then it was just Beverly Johnson. And then it was just Naomi Campbell.
Do you remember that Times article? Beyonce's first solo effort is good, but she's no Ashanti. That's what this is. It's not just Tyra who makes a marginalized community feel like there can only be one.
It really made me angry. Because I'm saying, in order for me to be successful, I have to knock someone out. So that means when I get really up there, that somebody's gonna come and knock me out.
I think she really did.
See, she's such a different person there than when we see her in the cycles talking about gap teeth.
I think she really did feel like she was sort of competing with Naomi.
When you're presented as the other person's replacement, maybe you do get mean, and maybe you do get jealous, and maybe you do get catty.
I think perhaps it
But
is an
I think
element
Tyra's
of
been working out
human
her
nature.
Naomi rivalry with every Black woman she's come across in the 30 years since.
I don't even think Tyra really wants any of us to become stars.
No, she doesn't.
Tyra didn't want any competition.
Of course not.
Tyra was
It's ludicrous to even suggest that, you know, in a reality TV competition show where there can only be one, the only winner is the host. That's the only real winner is the host. America's Next Top Model will forever be Tyra Banks.
Tyra was breaking the girls down so she could feel better about herself.
She went off on one girl that was so frightening that I was going to get up and like hold her down.
quiet, Tiffany. Be quiet. That's what is wrong with you. Stop it! I have never in my life yelled at a girl like this. When my mother yells at this, it's because she loves me. I was rooting for you. We were all rooting for you.
What is difficult about seeing that scene is that Tiffany had already been eliminated from the competition at this point, so this outburst completely did not need to happen. Tyra could have approached Tiffany off camera in a polite conversation, offering words of wisdom from her own career. That's not what she did. She's already out of the competition at this point, and because Tiffany didn't immediately break down, Tyra's ego was injured by this, and this is why we see this huge explosive moment. Because if someone's shouting at you like this on TV to be ridiculed for years and years and years and years afterwards, that person does not love you. That person's ego has been bruised, and they want to reclaim their authority.
All of us were standing there like, it did not feel like a mother yelling at her daughter.
Of course it
just
wasn't.
felt like someone just yelling at someone kicking a dog when they're down.
Absolutely. That's what it
She
was.
would go harder on the black girls on the show because it's about competitiveness and jealousy
This photo is retouched within an inch of its life.
and she being older than these young models.
You take responsibility for yourself, because nobody's going to take responsibility for you.
If that's Mama Tyra, then they need to come take me away. Child Services needs to take us.
You roll in your eyes and you act like this because you've heard it all before. You've heard it all before. You don't know where the hell I come from. You have no idea what I've been through. But I'm not a victim. I grow from it and I learn.
She was always trying to be this tough teen mom
So
to the
unlikable.
girls,
So unlikable.
but she just did not build up enough confidence in the girls. They left the
Look at the bad AI upscaling on this one. This poor girl, eyes pointing in all different directions.
show completely depressed and depleted. While she got so effing rich.
She did. That's the thing. She made money.
Is
Bang.
Tyra a narcissist?
I ain't a doctor, but yes. Narcissists are high ego, low self-esteem. Low self-esteem just oozes out of her.
High ego, low self-esteem. Huh.
Lena Portakova says that you lack respect for the co-judges. Janice Dickinson said that you were righteous. I mean, why do you think both of them had such negative things to say about their experience?
Why do you think?
Wasn't there.
You.
She doesn't want to go there.
Why do you think? I don't know.
Jealous? Is that what you're saying?
What, I'm asking you. You said it. I didn't say that word. You said it.
Jealous.
America's Next Top Model really tortured these girls for Tyra Banks' ego. Everything. The hairstyles, the way they walk, the way they hold their face.
But you
it
were a
really
part of
tore
this.
their ego and identity.
The problem that I have is that Janice also partook in this.
There, and I saw it for 4 seasons. She was a hardcore bitch.
Oh!
Mama, this mug, hunty boot down.
And we're immediately back with part 2.
Are you ready? Please give it up for Sarah Hartshorn!
So Sarah's publicist actually sent me a copy of her book. In fact, actually, this is it here, and it arrived before it was out for release. Is that what they say? Before it was released? A pre-release copy? And I must say, there is some... Well, there's some in this, and I think that if you really want to know more about her experience on America's Next Top Model, you should grab this book. You Want to Be on Top by Sarah Hartshorn.
For years after the show, I defended it like crazy. And people would ask, like, wasn't it terrible? Wasn't it awful? And I would say, no, no, no.
I was on America's Next Top Model. After the show, worked for many years as a plus-size model. And then I quit modeling, gained a bunch of weight, became a plus-size person. Weird how those aren't the same thing.
I was convinced that Tyra and the producers never meant any ill will or had any bad intentions. They were just trying to make good TV.
Yes, unfortunately, I do think that those things are quite mutually exclusive. I think good TV does often require an amount of drama. There is a recent TV show that we're watching over on the Patreon. The link's in the description box. We are watching The Traitors. Now, The Traitors manages to bridge the gap between reality TV competition and drama, but without it feeling like it's about personal attacks, even though it kind of is. It's because people almost play a character, even though they are real life living real people that have gone on to reality TV. It feels like manufactured drama in the way that it's meant to be. It's a good show because it's so dramatic and so twists and turns and storylines, but it doesn't have this same darkness around like, oh, this could ruin these people's lives that other reality TV shows have. So if you like reality TV, I'm pretty sure that The Traitors is probably going to be quite high up your list of faves.
But then in 2020, a lot of people rewatched the show and sort of started to come to terms with how problematic a lot of it had been.
There was so much body shaming on the show.
I didn't even realize the comments they were making were toxic.
And it was this like sort of awakening, and I had it at the same time. People kept saying, that's so messed up, that's so messed up. And I was like, wait, was that so messed up?
We all have that fantasy that we're going to be plucked out of obscurity and we're going to become rich and famous. But even those who won Top Model, while they might be famous as reality personalities, were never really that famous as models.
Ironically, it was usually the runners-up that would have a huge flourishing career in different markets. Elise is one of those former contestants. She had an amazing career in Japan, I believe, and China. It's been a while since I've looked into Elise's career. But that guy just said it, stone cold. This show kind of gave an atmosphere of, if you get on and do as we say, you're going to be a star that we found in the rough. And how many times have we heard that trope of, oh, just listen to me and you'll be a star. Just let me do whatever and you'll be a star. Just do this and you will be a star. Even that sentence has like a darkness to it, doesn't it? Because it's never do all these great things and you'll be a star. It's always a little bit nefarious with like, well, if you do this for me, I'll try and make you a star. And I don't...
Maybe in the first few seasons, Tyra earnestly believed in her ability to make a career modeling for these women. But once you have evidence that your show doesn't actually do anything for anybody, well, you got a machine going. Keep making the money.
Yeah, that is exactly it.
A lot of people might have assumed that we were paid to be on that show. We were not paid to be on the show.
We worked 12, 16-hour days.
They were not paid to be on the show. I thought they were paid like a very small amount. I thought it was like $40 a day, wasn't it? Oh, I don't know where I've heard that number now. I've got myself second-guessing myself. Oh, Joanna, you've thrown a spanner in the works. I do wonder if maybe later cycles were paid and the first kind of cycles were not... Oh, is the word stipend where they're given like a little bit for food and travel and not a lot else? Is that what it's called, a stipend?
And even when we were sleeping, there were cameras on us.
Of course.
We were given $37 a day to buy our food.
Okay, there we go. $30-something a day to buy food. That's what I thought. Yeah, that's not a living wage.
These girls don't get residuals. And then Tyra said, go back to your life with no money. Well, I collect millions. And billions.
See, they don't collect residuals. Those contracts must have been so tight. The fact that it's taken years for these sorts of exposés to come out. And just think, if they weren't so greedy and weren't quite so hateful, this would be remembered as like one of the best television shows to ever exist. Tyra could probably still be doing it now instead of hinting at a weird cycle 25 that may or may not happen. I don't know if it's even going to happen after the backlash that she's been getting recently, because it's been a lot.
Adrienne Curry won the first season of Top Model.
Unfortunately, Adrienne Curry is quite homophobic and transphobic and also anti-vax. And she's been on a few rants online that have maybe just go, oh, I don't know. Not for me. Not in my inner circle.
In the first couple of seasons, they got this coveted CoverGirl contract.
I'm really happy with Adrienne's success. She has cosmetics contracts. She's doing really, really well, and she's making a lot of money.
See, she's making a lot of money because Tyra knows that one of the reasons that most people want to get on this show is the golden ticket to make money, to be successful, to be desirable, and make money from that desire that you can create. Now, as much as I don't agree with Adrienne quite a lot of the time. In fact, I don't really agree with Adrienne's opinions on anything. She specifically said she did not want to be involved in any of the America's Next Top Model documentaries. Yet here we are on this documentary seeing Adrienne.
Like a lot. This is before the era of these contestants being all...
So that interview must have been done between cycle 1 and cycle 2.
Over social media. So If you tell me that Adrian Curry is doing incredibly well and making a lot of money, I have no way of fact checking that.
That's very true.
A $100,000 contract does not mean a $100,000 check.
It doesn't.
It was actually just the promise of the opportunity to do $100,000 worth of work over a year.
Oh, good. Oh my God. Is this a backstage moment? Or is this, do you think this is AI slop, perhaps? Oh, this might be AI slop. Although, it does mention the CW. I understand and agree that Pottle and CW solely will control issuance of all publicity, press releases, and press conferences related to the program. I agree not to participate in any publicity, press releases, or press conferences, or to communicate with the press directly or indirectly in any respect in connection with the program. Do you see how confusing the language is on purpose? We have had, in recent years, a couple of Drag Race reality TV contracts leak, and they are diabolical. I enjoy the show Drag Race, but the contracts to get on the show, those contracts are diabolical. And I can understand why some of my closest friends, who are drag excellence and drag icons, will never go on that show.
There was a clause that said that if circumstances arise and that work can't be provided, they were under no obligation to pay you.
Oh! Initials SH. She must have kept her contract then. I understand that any breach of this agreement may also result in my immediate termination and disqualification from the program and forfeit of any prizes. Breach of this agreement. Any breach of this agreement. Yeah, what classes as a breach of agreement when they've literally said in that clause, speak to anyone about anything, ever, and you forfeit it. And of course, these girls come from a place with no money, a place with perhaps even not even much opportunity. They're not going to have the money to take a lawyer and sue America's Next Top Model or the CW or production or anything. Like, lawyers are expensive, and going through legal systems is equally expensive, even more so. And it's not even a case of like, oh, well, you might win. It's like, oh, well, if you've got one sort of good lawyer from your small town up against LA's and Hollywood's best television lawyers, do you even have a chance, even if you are right?
After 5 months, I'm kind of like, what's going on?
She got her own
and
TV
it wasn't
show,
going to be a big cosmetics campaign. It was just going to be convention work. And they knew that my mom was about to lose her house. And I was told, you win this, you're a millionaire overnight, you take care of your family. And, I told my family this, and I felt like I failed them.
Okay, that I'm genuinely shocked about that. The fact that this is documentary. This is from like 2006. We need to watch this documentary. I am so gagged that this $100,000 campaign, I mean, it makes sense because the word campaign is purposefully vague. They didn't say billboard campaign, television campaign. Being at a stand at a conference is totally different in my mind from what the word campaign means than appearing on magazines or cover shoots or television work or any of it. That's bonkers, isn't it? How sneaky. But do you see what I said earlier about the words that we use have meaning? You can say words and use words that are purposefully vague to actually disseminate a meaning. Is disseminate the right word there? To disguise a meaning. You could use a word like campaign and rely on someone else that you know you're not saying in that sentence. Oh my God, it's like used car salesman. Does that make any sense? It's very selective. Being selective with your language is very important for multiple different reasons.
America's Next Top Model is.
I did like all this outfits.
Yeah.
On a HD 240.
The day when Tyra showed my picture, it was almost like cold water thrown at my face. I wasn't expecting the win.
Really?
It was almost just like an out-of-body experience. But then it really hit the next day when I went to New York City and I signed with the modeling agency. And my mother said, well, where's Joanna gonna stay? And they said, we don't know. For 1 year, I was indebted to the franchise America's Next Top Model. I had to do a lot of appearances. I never got paid for any of them. I was sleeping on a couch and I had to figure out, how am I gonna eat?
Do you see what I said earlier about like going on these shows does not make you the star, it makes them look better in comparison. So don't ever listen to any of these executive producers that are like, no, we didn't know. This isn't what we were doing. That's not what it was. not paid for attending things is absolutely obscene.
Tyra's production company at the time was quite literally called...
Who types like that?
Time was quite literally called Bankable Productions, right? Which is the play on her name. But you copyright the format and then sell it all over the globe, then you do get to literally rake in a lot of the profits.
What's it called? Is it called syndication? No, I don't think that is what it's called, is it? Top Model international franchises. We even had Britain's Next Top Model, which I would love to cover.
Different countries worldwide had their own version of Top Model. Tyra Banks became a mogul. She was a top model, actress, creator, and executive producer of a global franchise.
He also speaks the same way that Tyra does. Bleu, de bleu, de bleu. Emphasis.
It feels really good having the show be such a hit and be so successful. Just makes me just go home at night, smile as I'm going to sleep.
I left the show broker than I'd ever been in my life.
And just think, if they'd actually given them just even a percentage of what they were actually making from them, we wouldn't be having all this now, because people would have felt looked after and listened to. This is the problem with, like, Hollywood level success. And when I mentioned earlier about speaking to, like, Hollywood TV people who are American, it's this idea of like, well, I'm successful, so you have to fail. You have to be nothing for me to be successful, so that I look so much better than you. Whereas, I don't know about you, but I view success in a very different way. I'm like, pay your artists fairly. I guess that's why we have billionaires though, isn't it? Like, because they're not thinking like me. You have to be a very specific kind of person to reach that level.
Why do you want to be a supermodel? Being a supermodel, you have to have that confidence. And you guys are going to speak like a supermodel.
In the first season, the word supermodel appeared way more than it did in the subsequent seasons.
Interesting.
Those clients wanted to book you. That's the signs of a top model in the making.
Top model.
Thereafter, it was America's Next Top Model. And I don't think that that shift is a mistake.
No, it's a marketing
I think a lot of girls really expect
ploy.
a lot from Tyra Banks, being that she picked them and like she should.
Oh, Jasleen, look at you. Stunning. You haven't aged a second.
And like she should be the one to create their careers. But in all honesty, the show is about Tyra Banks.
It is.
And I don't
It
think
is.
she's going to try to make you more famous than her.
Of course not. Why would she?
Tyra loves to portray herself as somebody who has a helping hand. No, she's doing this all to manipulate people for her own profit.
Central delusion of the show is that Tyra is...
I must admit, I am quite liking seeing these behind-the-scenes photos. I've never seen photos like this before. It is quite nice to see. It kind of humanizes the experience a little bit more outside of the television world, if that makes sense. There is such a glam with TV, isn't there? Like being able to spin a narrative, spin a feeling, spin even the way that something looks into making it television, like television, girls. This doesn't really look like television. This could be almost a crowd at a function. It wouldn't feel, I mean, maybe it would be, I'm about to say it, like, oh, it kind of feels like it could be a wedding reception. Maybe not a wedding reception because the costumes aren't really there. But you see what I mean? Like it could be a birthday party. Just like or something, and people are just casually clapping. Whereas if we had the other angle from the top model cameras, you immediately get the sense that this is a show.
Tyra is helping you just because you are getting exposure because you're on TV, but like being on television is not help.
Exposure doesn't pay the bills. Never has done, never will do. Pay your artists.
I grew up in the hood of Buffalo. East Side girl through and through, 716 all day.
Anjali, oh my goodness. So I think Cycle 13 or 14 was the one that I stopped watching it on because I was in London being my own supermodel.
I was always tall, always skinny, so that meant that I got ridiculed because I didn't look like the other girls. In the urban community, I wasn't curvy, wasn't thick. And I remember Tyra saying that she got bullied for being tall and skinny. And I was like, oh my God, I got bullied for being tall and skinny too. Girl, we are soul sisters. And in Cycle 14, I was okay with placing top 4 because some of the girls who don't win.
I did watch this. I recognize some of the other girlies as well. Okay.
Some of the girls who don't win get signed.
Oh, trust me,
You will be seeing me again, know that.
High hopes for you.
So I thought the agencies will be calling
AI
me.
is terrible.
No, nobody called me. Nobody wanted to work with me because of how I was portrayed on the show.
Okay, because you want me to be this hood ghetto bitch. No, I know how to conduct myself, bitch. I worked at a bank.
Urban, ghetto, whatever you want to call it. And they said they can't market that. And that scares clients. There was embarrassment.
Oh, this is an AI photo, because that's not good at all. So there is something to be said about the conversation of going on this show. It's kind of portrayed as getting on the show will give you a career. Now, I can be a sensible business person about this and say being on a show does not entitle you to a career. And however, it should at the same time not entitle you to be being completely fed and gaslit, to being completely gas-fed and fed lies for months and months and months and months and months, putting you at a worse position than before. A very, I want to say nuanced, I'm going to use that word again, nuanced discussion, because nothing is ever owed to anyone ever. It's actually a very prestigious and desirable career to be a model, and not everyone can be. But at the same time, we've got to remember that these are human beings at this. These contestants are still human beings. They're going to feel certain types of way when the penny drops that this show won't give them this, and I think they're allowed to react in a way that gets that feelings out. I mean, as long as it doesn't damage themselves and other people, but they're allowed to display and show and explain their disappointment and their frustration with the show 100%.
Because I had been on such a big show that shows in so many countries, and then I had nothing to show for it.
Yeah.
When they called me to do All Stars, I just wanted another chance.
I went through all the past cycles and brought back your favorite.
So we have not seen All Stars here on the Chanel. I've not seen All Stars ever. I know who appears in it, and it does make me go, you knew what you were getting in for the second time round. But also, the contracts from television is crazy. If you come back for a repeat appearance, generally the contracts are a lot more business than the contracts to be discovered, if that makes sense. There's stipends, there's wages involved, there's like unions quite often involved, there's other different aspects that even I don't know about that will be involved. I don't know if it's quite the same with Top Model, because 2011, yes, it's more recent, but it's still 15 years ago.
You start to see the show needing to come up with more kinds of gimmicks. In cycle 17, the All-Star cycle, they brought back all of these returning contestants.
Cycle 5 made me the enemy of my own life around the globe on repeat. Well, then why'd you go back? I went back for revenge. I went back for redemption. I went back to change my life.
Well,
but
I don't think that is a good choice, personally.
One of the biggest red flags on All Stars was they kept us in the vans for like 4 or 5 hours.
Sorry. They kept you in vans for 4 to 5 hours? At what point? Between shoots? Before shoots? After shoots?
With paper bags over our heads.
I'm sorry, what? Sometimes you hear something and you go, this cannot possibly be true. There has been a bit of discussion around this conversation online that I've seen. Some contestants are saying that yes, this did happen, and others are saying, no, this did not happen.
Do you know what this all reminds me of? The Stanford prison experiment.
Okay, that's a bit of a leap. We've gone from television psychological torture to the Stanford prison experiment. I think that is a bit of a leap. I'm not here to say that something that someone's saying is not true and that the experiences that they've gone through are not real, but I do think when we're using very drastic likening scenarios that we should do that in a way that is considered about the way that we speak. So I'm going to suggest taking this with a bit of salt until we have some confirmation as well.
With the Stanford prison experiment in 1971, you're putting people in prison. Some are given roles as wardens, some are given roles as prisoners, and then you watch what happens.
Before the Stanford prison experiment started, They had everybody line up and sit on these benches and made them wear paper bags over their heads for hours to make them vulnerable and feel completely out of place and confused. That's what they did to us on All Stars.
We're going to need some other people to speak about this experience, I feel.
The bag over the head.
If I had hair, girl, I'd be pulling it right now because it was stressful.
So Anjali has said
It's
that they
important
did.
to keep in mind where reality television comes from. In the 1960s and 1970s, you actually have these sociological experiments that are recorded and then broadcast on television, taking real people and putting them in very sort of arduous situations to see how they will react. There's an idea that if you throw ordinary people into extraordinary circumstances, you will learn something about human nature. And I think that America's Next Top Model is very much building on that legacy.
Okay, that is a very striking sentence to say and sentence to hear. Now, I am a scientist and I feel quite out of depth with talking about psychological experimentation because that is something I have zero experience with. I am a biochemist. My studies and my work have dealt with the very tangible. You can see, you can feel, you can understand these things. Whereas the psychological aspect of science is far more broad and far more ephemeral and far more malleable than the branch of biochemistry.
What makes reality television so compelling is that you get to see real people feel really vulnerable. However, how can it showcase that vulnerability without exploiting it?
It can't. But unfortunately, people aren't perfect. And that means that us as viewers aren't perfect either. There is an element of fantasy to reality TV. In fact, there's fantasy to television full stop, is that I will watch things that I will never do myself. But I, as a self-aware person, know the difference between fantasy and reality. I'm not sure that every single person does. And when you start talking about population groups, you have to understand your role as someone who can create something, how it might affect a population, especially when it comes to something that can portray something as real that isn't. So there is a difference between American reality TV shows and British reality TV shows, for example. In fact, actually, I'm going to bring it back to The Traitors for this one, because this is a great one. In the American version of The Traitors, they portray the contestants as staying in the castle. They can stay there overnight. British TV does not let you do this. There are broadcasting rules in the UK that mean that certain things can't happen to lead the viewer astray to believe something is real when it isn't. So in The Traitors UK, they do not stay in the castle. There is scenes showing them leave the castle, back to their lives, so to speak. In the US one, they just go upstairs and go to bed, apparently. Even though when the cameras turn off, they don't. They then come back down and then go back to their hotels or back to wherever it is that they're staying. So in a way, it should sort of be obvious that reality TV shows that are filmed in different jurisdictions have different rules, but that might also not be explicitly told.
We're in Greece. It was the Cycle 17, the All Stars, the finale.
Oh God, here we go.
It's Allison, it's Anjali,
stunning,
and it's me.
Okay.
The top three, the final three.
The final runway. The gods, the goddesses. It was so hot on the beach.
The whole set looked like it was half broken down.
And then I won this show.
Anjali won, okay.
Couldn't believe it, like, oh my God.
Won All Stars.
I'm gonna be able to take this opportunity and really just live out my dreams again and just do it right, because now I'm a little bit more gamed up. I can move and I can network properly, you know? This is great. A few weeks later, I was back in Buffalo and I had gotten a phone call. And it was from Michelle Mock, the casting director. She was like, hey, we wanna fly you to New York City because we wanna talk about sponsorships since you won.
Well, I don't have a good feeling about this already.
Okay, fine.
Oh, you didn't have to use an AI picture of a plane,
I end up going to the Mandarin Oriental.
Is this AI? Is that AI? Oh, I don't know. I mean, it's not reflecting very well.
The attorney for CBS is there. The casting director, Michelle Mock, is there. And was like,
this AI is so distracting. I can't listen to what she's saying. Hang on.
CBS is there. The casting director, Michelle Mock, is there. And was like, now we need to get down to business. I'm like, oh, okay. We can't air you as the winner. And I was like, why? because you were engaging in sex work.
Okay. God, it's...
After Cycle 14, before I went on All Stars, I was in a bind, and I was just desperate to, you know, to make some money.
Oh, no, we did not need any AI to do all this. Oh, this is ludicrous. As if this is what it is. Not all sex work is walking down a dodgy alleyway at night.
And someone took advantage of me. A predator swooped in and just put me on a path of self-loathing and destruction.
Traffic.
And harm. I obviously didn't make the best choice, but I was desperate and I wasn't thinking straight.
Just because someone goes into sex work doesn't mean they deserve to have all of their humanity stripped away from them. That is... Okay, so hang on. So America's Next Top Model said, we can't air you as the winner because you've been involved in sex work. This show!
Now, here I am at the Mandarin Oriental. I just won this show. This show that will change my life for the better. Just for them to take my shit away from me.
Who told them, though?
I get why they...
Who told them this? Who... It was probably the person, wasn't it?
Technically can do that because escorting is illegal. But for a show that is gifting a prize for selling beauty, to disqualify a woman using her agency to sell her beauty is hypocritical.
It is hypocritical.
Sexist.
But she didn't sell it, did she? Let's be honest. This isn't what happened. She was desperate and she found herself into a situation where she needed to do adult work and someone took advantage of that. It's not the same as selling that. Do you see? There's quite a difference there, actually. And regardless of your feelings towards sex work, my opinion is that sex work is work, but it is not a decision that people take lightly. I hate all this AI. This, however,
Before
isn't.
All Stars, I meet with the casting director, Michelle Mock, in LA. She's asking me, what have you been up to since the show? Oh, just modeling. Anything else? She flat out asked me. She was like, were you being pimped?
So she knew?
Held my hand and she said, I know what happened to you, but I want you to take this opportunity and run with it. That is exactly what she said. This is like confirming that somebody knew what had happened to me.
They knew everything about all of us. You literally have our blood type and our fingerprints. She was set up from the very beginning to be the one that's disqualified at the end.
That's wild.
Angeli didn't make any money doing the thing you promised you would help her make money doing. And you snatch it away from her. That's cruel.
That is cruel. That's so cruel.
My dream was right there. Like someone dangling candy in front of a kid. Like almost. I was supposed to walk away with $100,000, but they...
The thing is, to an enterprise like America's Next Top Model, $100,000 is nothing.
Gave me $300 cash, like some pity money, and sent me on my way.
2 months later,
$300 cash.
2 months later, the producers called me. We're gonna do a reshoot for the finale. And then on the show, they said Angeli is disqualified.
It turns out that after shooting was wrapped, our production team and the network learned information from Angeli that disqualifies her from the competition.
Should you be showing
America's Next Top Model is Lisa.
So when the episode aired, Lisa is the on-air winner of Cycle 17 All Stars. Nothing about me being the original winner or why we had to disqualify Angeli. So now the trending topic on Twitter was me. What happened to Angeli?
I went back to change the narrative so people would stop calling me an alcoholic bitch. That definitely didn't happen. They actually made it worse. There was fans coming after me, asking what happened to Angelique.
I will say, this is a phenomenon that seems to happen with reality TV competition shows quite a lot, is that the audience doesn't seem to ever direct the questions to the right person. We see, I'm going to compare it to Drag Race because it happens on Drag Race all the time because the Drag Race fans are vicious. When an elimination happens, they blame the person that's saved rather than the creators of the show. The contestants have no control. Less than no control. They have minus control over the narrative of the show. You need to address your questions and your complaints to the people who make the show, who make the decisions, who say the decisions, not the person with the least power in this equation.
So now I have people reaching out to me, and of course I don't want to talk about it because I'm embarrassed.
Of course.
I just went through something so traumatic. The attorney for CBS told me, you know, Angela, you did this to yourself. Yes, thank you. Thank you for being so kind and telling me that I f***ed up.
Television
Thank you.
people are not kind.
People kept talking about it, and so it brought in the ratings.
I felt used. I felt like a throwaway. There could have been a sensible excuse as to why Angelique didn't make the final runway.
There could have been.
She got sick or something. But
I don't think lying
y'all
is
wanted
correct.
people to question what happened to me to boost your ratings. It's not right. It was wrong.
I will say the rumor mills of people are so wild. You will get people who genuinely want to know the answer, and then you'll also get people in the comments saying things that aren't real in order to show and appear like they know an answer, to grab attention away from someone or something. Onto them. This always makes me giggle. My personal experience with this, I literally didn't post like one video, and someone was like, oh, I can't believe Luxeria is in hospital after having a heart attack. And people believed this person. And I was like, no, I've not. No, 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 no. No, 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 no. And another time, there was a scandal in the goth community. God, that's it's a bit more serious than that, actually. There was a big event that happened with several goth YouTubers that was not good, and I'm still friends with one of them now because the way it was a relationship breakdown, it was just awful. Anyone who knows will know. And the audacity of someone to say one of the reasons that this relationship broke down was because the person was cheating with me in London. And I was like, what the fuck are you talking about? And people ran with it. And they decided to pull out this evidence of like, oh, it's because Luxeria hasn't commented in support. And it's like, I actually have. And then people underneath was like, actually she has. She said multiple things about it. And I was like, yes, I have. Because it's whatever you're saying is not true, stupid. But you give people an inch and they will run away with it when it comes to a rumor mill. Because some people do, unfortunately, love to make stuff up for attention.
The system we're in already punishes poverty. You told me that if I worked hard, I could get this thing. I got it, and you took it from me. And then to strip that from her, and she actually needs it, and you give it to a white woman? You gotta be kidding me, yo.
Oh, that is quite a drastic thing to say there. I think what is difficult there is that there was no other people of colour in the top three. It was just Angelique. God, what a wild scenario. I feel so conflicted about that because the storyline that the TV show went with was almost like, oh, it's all Angelique's fault. Well, it's not. She was a victim.
Top model
Why is
took
Perez
Angelique's win away because CoverGirl allegedly was not happy that an escort won. If you have a presenting sponsor that pays for production, you got to keep your presenting sponsor happy.
That is true.
By Cycle 24 wasn't even a modeling competition anymore. It was a gimmicky TV show.
It always was, really.
Tyra, over the years, was really good at fetishizing and gimmicking up people who looked even more different than the different she used to celebrate.
And what makes you interesting, special, different? I have a disease called alopecia universalis, so it's autoimmune. It attacks my hair follicles and my hair falls out. It's hard to talk about.
I was like a super fan of the show before I was even on it. I know the show like the back of my hand. Every winner, every contestant from every season.
See, isn't that an interesting insight there? And going back to what I said earlier, the contestants were so young that in every couple of cycles, the superfans of cycles a few years before were old enough to compete on the cycles. It's like a self-perpetuating machine.
I had a lot of insecurities about losing my hair, but I thought being on the show was an opportunity for me to kind of find myself and figure out who I was without other people telling me like what was beautiful. But out of all 24 seasons of America's Next Top Model, the sponsor has always been a makeup brand.
Yes.
My season was the only season that the sponsor was a hair company. How was I ever gonna win once I was told Pantene was the sponsor? I don't have hair.
You cast a girl with alopecia on a hair product competition. I mean, it's cruel, it's evil.
It is cruel, it's so cruel.
I can imagine to be a buxom 17-year-old black girl in France selling your looks, you're probably treated like a zoo animal. But you promised me you were gonna do it different. So why didn't you do it different?
Right away during my audition process, I walked into the room, I was like, hi, I'm Gina. They were like, so you went from childhood modeling to like va va boom. And Tyra's like looking at me like this. And I was like, are you guys referring to Playboy? As soon as I said that, I noticed Tyra's expression change to like kind of smug and like cold. And when I said the idea of selling sex worked for me, being sexy in my career worked for me. Tyra didn't like that. And her response to me was, you sound like a prostitute. Tyra made an entire career off of being sexy. I mean, the biggest thing she's known for is...
There is absolutely something to be said about the modeling world where it is be so sexy, be on the verge of practically having intercourse, but never do it. Never do it. If you do it, everyone wants to see you unclothed as soon as you are. Shame, 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 slur, shame. Victoria's Secret is literally an adult sexy show, right? It's as close to, is it called cabaret? As the fashion industry will get.
And this is within minutes of meeting somebody that I idolized my entire life. So I told them, I lost my hair at the same time every girl was getting boobs and like having a glow up. I did something to grow into and step into my own femininity. And as soon as I said that, she looks at me and goes, now tell me about alopecia, while I'm mid-breakdown.
See a very beautiful girl with hair or without hair. Your next level fierce.
None of the conversation about Playboy and why I was crying like that was ever shown. That was the very first way that they manipulated my emotions to get a certain scene. They always would do this manipulation surrounding the concept of my story with my hair.
What we're hearing here is like really shocking story, but at the same time, in a strange way, I'm not surprised because this is exactly what the show kind of is. Unfortunately, when you get to cycle like 20, 21, 23, 20, 21, 22, 23, people from cycle 3, 4, 5, and 6 have already started speaking out about the show and the difficulties and the problems about the show. It's maybe not public information and public knowledge, but the conversations are happening there, albeit small.
Gina, that wig that you have, you're gonna have to say goodbye to her.
I never saw that video. I never saw Tyra say that to me. I was told I was getting a wig. The editing process changed that video.
Can we take your wig off now? Because I don't even know what's under. Oh.
I just never know. It's a surprise every time. Like, I always hope that there's hair there, but sometimes there's not.
They literally just told me they were giving me hair, and then all of a sudden it was different. I had never shaved my head like that before. It felt like touching a snake, and I just felt like creepy crawly in my own skin. Looking back on it, their editing was that deceptive that they were actually able to make an audience think that I felt powerful.
The editing is the extra character.
The production of the show really know how to make sure that they cast girls that came from a really hard or toxic childhood background.
And I've said this time and time again because we hear contestants and former contestants share that story. And quite often it's one of the very first things that we see and hear of them. Tyra will be like, oh, you're welcome to the stage. Yeah, so tell me about X, Y, or Z. We've just heard their age, where they're from, and their name, and then it's immediately some of the darkest information you could ever learn about someone. Probably something that even their best friends might not even know about them. And the more I talk about it, the more I'm like, why do I like this show? Why do I still have this fondness for this show in such a strange capacity? And I think it is because I enjoyed the earlier cycles. I never saw it really beyond cycle 14, 15. And now it's also taken on to its own aspect of like, it's almost lost media retrieval, with streaming companies taking down things that this TV show has made and done and said, and trying to change and erase how people thought about this at the time and afterwards. It's almost become archival media at this point.
Tell me about growing up and all the things that you went through and all the tragedy.
I've been just passed off to family members a lot.
And remember, at this point, we heard that J. Manuel and Tyra were not speaking. They were not friends anymore.
I was molested.
They were really good at casting someone who was struggling with something.
You got brothers and sisters? Two of my brothers died.
I think Renee from my season was going through some things in her life already.
Tyra, you have to understand, I have a family to take care of. My husband was living on the beach. My son's living with his mom. I have a lot on my shoulders right now.
And something was kind of spiraling.
Listen, I do talk. I don't feel guilty about talking.
And people have been disrespectful to me. Is that true? Y'all don't like me either?
After the show,
Renee's story is so blighted from this show. Probably the most infamous moment that I remember is, I believe it was a police shootout? I'm gonna double check myself there. Yes, I am not mistaken there. She was involved in a SWAT standoff in Palm Springs, where she was discovered hiding in a property and faced felony charges of burglary, possession of a weapon, I think even Grand Theft Auto in that as well. It's a lot. Renee's story after the show is a lot.
She was in a bad way.
There were a string of arrests, Alway accused of breaking into people's homes and cars, stealing weapons, money, and other valuable items.
Renee did an interview in prison. I was like in shock.
Everybody says, well, wow, you have all this great opportunity, but when it comes down to it, I got into the world and I went, okay, like here I am, ready to do this. And it was just closed door after closed door after closed door. I couldn't get past the reality TV stigma that had been put on me.
And unfortunately, this show never, ever, ever really ever explained that that is exactly what you're getting involved in. You're not getting involved in the opportunity to perhaps win a job, because that's what Ken Mock has been on record saying. You don't win the job, you win an opportunity to perhaps start the job. In lots of other reality TV competitions, we don't see that dynamic. We see people win physical, tangible things, including money, but the American tax system also behaves quite differently to, well, how it behaved in the UK anyway. In the UK, if you win money, you don't pay taxes on that. That is a win. I know in the US, if you win 100 grand, you might have to pay 60 grand of that in taxes for some reason or another. So is ever winning something actually beneficial if you already don't have enough to ensure that you can keep afloat?
And then there's Miriana Puhar, Cycles 21. I felt like we had like a similar shared path and background.
I'm not familiar with this contestant.
She was this girl who was also an urban girl, a girl with a little sass, a little spunk.
There's a little toughness in there.
Yeah.
Where's that come from?
I had like a abusive boyfriend at 13. I didn't have that love from my dad, so I was kind of looking for that with him.
And just like all the urban girls like me, girls who are labeled with an attitude, she was having a hard time getting signed after being portrayed as difficult or as a villain. She's young, she has no direction. She picked the wrong guy to love. I was so upset about how she was treated like nothing.
It doesn't sound like she picked anyone to love. It sounds like someone purposefully found her.
She was killed.
Yeah, you want that prize, don't you?
Reality TV in general, people will get cast who are relying on this to make their paycheck.
Was hoping that I could use this to pay off all of the bills that, we're swimming in debt. We don't have any place to live. And I just feel like I failed. I feel like I failed my family.
They are easy to exploit because they are the most desperate and are willing to accommodate the most things.
Absolutely.
If I think that Tyra Banks is my only shot, I'm going to give everything I have. Okay, it's just 6 weeks of this crazy, crazy competition, and I'll never have to live in a roach-infested apartment again. Well, then I'm gonna do every challenge to the max.
This 2-month-long crazed reality TV show competition to potentially then get enough money to set myself up for life. It seems wild when you apply for a TV show just out of the blue anyway, but then to actually be picked and shown this almost like other side of existence with everyone whispering promises at you. It would take the most stoic, the most self-assured, the most confident person to not allow your worldview to be morphed by that.
When you come from a background where you're used to being abused, being taken advantage of, you're already used to not standing up for yourself, not setting boundaries. So it's very easy for productions like this to emotionally manipulate us for entertainment, and Tyra just gets away with it.
The buck doesn't just stop with Tyra. I think the reason why Tyra is getting the most forefront of this is because A, she's not really taken any responsibility for it, but also it was her show. I know that she was a pair of executive producers. I also know that there was a whole network behind her making these decisions. She wouldn't have come up with every single idea herself. It would have been also part of a team, but her face was on it. And when you put your face to something, you are kind of unintentionally becoming the lightning rod for whatever happens to that brand. You can't really separate yourself from it if your face is all over it.
I don't think Tyra had a responsibility to take care of these women. It would have been relatively impossible, but she had a responsibility to be honest with them. And I think where she chose to employ that honesty ultimately was cruel, and where the honesty was needed was completely ignored.
I will agree with that. Tyra Banks, the person, doesn't owe these girls anything. Tyra Banks, the brand, and America's Next Top Model, the brand, has a duty to be upfront and honest about what it is. There should be no coercion within reality TV. Everyone on the show should want to be there to do it, and it makes a much better show when that happens. And they should also have been so upfront with what the actual outcome of the show is. It's not that you're going to be a millionaire overnight. It's not that you're going to be international supermodel day one. It's that you get a prize with the hope of going into the fashion industry afterwards. But you'll always be a reality TV person.
When Mariana passed away, Tyra's post was like, "Oh, Mariana, we love you forever, forever in our hearts." And I was just like, girl, that is bullshit. Tyra and the judges say they care about us. They want us to have a good career. We believe this. But if y'all would have reached out to her and helped her, could she have been in a different situation?
I did not get a single phone call from Tyra, from anybody checking up.
Wow. Filming All Stars, Ken Mock, he came in the room and he says, "I just want to thank you girls so much because you girls put my girls through college."
This is all self-serving. It's not about finding a model. It's never been about finding a model. It's about creating reality TV to line the pockets of people. And that's the thing, isn't it? Even if all of these models that got on this show had been given, 100 grand, let's just say the top 4 of each show given 100 grand, Tyra and Ken Mock and the production companies would still be worth hundreds of millions of dollars, just perhaps $1 million less.
And the silence in the room at that point was deafening.
I'm not surprised, even in the
we
slightest.
We did not come on this show to make your family's life better.
Yes.
We came on this show to make our lives better.
Yes.
I wanted to be able to give
Unfortunately,
young
they
girls
lied
that
to you
dream
all.
because it's an amazing dream, and I had the power to give them that dream.
Call it for what it is. It's a business to you, and that's fine. Don't go and do a media blitz about how you care about us. You didn't and you don't.
And that is the dark side of reality TV. Reality TV, in order to be a memorable and compelling story, generally used to feel like it needed kind of nefarious undertones in order to get what it needed from people. But a lot of it is also because the people that reach these CEO levels, executive producer levels, other high up levels in industry, you kind of need certain dark personality traits in order to get results from people. And one that really sticks with me is I watched a few years back now the documentary about There's Something About Miriam. We all know that show was appalling. From every sense of the word, everyone was exploited. The only winner in that situation was the network. And the executive producer went on that documentary to say,
I didn't feel anything. I'm in the business of making television shows. Do I think it went beyond any kind of moral codes of conduct? No.
That's the kind of people you're dealing with behind the scenes of these industries. People that don't see anything wrong with this and will continue to do it and will continue to make it more dramatic until you tell them, actually, that's not allowed and we're going to hold you accountable now. Suddenly,
we didn't know, it's not us.
They scatter. They want all the praise when everything's going right. But as soon as someone points out that their behavior is not acceptable, they go, oh, well, we didn't know. It wasn't us. No, I wasn't involved. That wasn't me. It was, it was somebody else. It was on the desk of this person. Oh, that person doesn't work here anymore. It was all their fault. So easy to pass the blame. No one ever takes responsibility.
I really do think that sometimes Tyra thought she was doing good things. It's not true.
I will agree with that.
When you get high off your own supply, more than making a bajillion dollars. She got an ego stroke.
There's a problem with when what you're doing makes loads of money. It's almost like a self-fulfilling prophecy of like, I'm making the right decision. I'm doing it right because I'm making money doing this. So I must be doing something correct. It's almost like confirmation bias of like, well, I've made money doing it, so it must be right.
Tyra's face was all over the place. In the house on the show, it was an environment of worship, like a sort of deity situation.
A temple.
Tyra created her own language, which she has trademarked, a smize.
It's in the dictionary.
Smiling with your eyes. Booty tooch.
The booty tooch.
H to T.
I need a little bit more H2T. What does that mean? Head to...
You get Tyra mail.
Tyra mail!
It like leaves a little cryptic riddle about what your next challenge is going to be.
Bomb in the house, lol.
Concepts.
Prepare to die.
The branding of the whole situation is like Tyra. It's Tyra's world. We're in it.
And that's why she also created Model Land. Do you remember that? The America's Next Top Model theme park about being a model that was not surprisingly in the slightest a complete flop.
This is just the lobby, and if you want to get past it, you've got to splurge on a ticket. So buying a ticket will get you in a room like this. Here you do a photo shoot complete with tips from Tyra, but there's no word yet whether or not she's actually there in person.
I read the book Cultish about cults of every level.
Okay, I don't know
and
anything
it really breaks
about
down
this.
the tools that they all use.
I don't know anything about this.
Top model, they used all of them.
The unifying definition that people have around what makes something a cult or not is high control.
They controlled when we went to the bathroom, when we ate, when we slept, when we were allowed to speak to each other. They isolated us from our friends and family. We weren't allowed to have magazines, we weren't allowed to have newspapers, we weren't allowed to have anything that showed what day it was or what time it was.
I do want to say though, that was generally TV when you couldn't have something leaked. That's what NDAs do. They control the information that's allowed into and out of a space or a meeting or a thing. I've had to sign a few NDAs in my life when I'm getting involved with business things. And it's not anywhere near as extreme as this, because this is like the product is yourself. The idea of wanting to be involved with something like this, perhaps like naively, you won't necessarily know that you are the product in that scenario. So you will be under NDA. You will be the thing that is not allowed to see the outside world or interact with the outside world, because you could be the leaker of information. So I do, to an extent, understand that, but there still has to be a humanist approach. You can't just be like, nope, locked in a cage, bye.
Using the same phrase over and over again. If you violate the confidentiality agreement, we will dock your wages for the rest of your life. We will dock your wages for the rest of your life. We will dock your wages for the rest of your life.
The thing is, that's a really extreme phrase. They potentially don't mean for the rest of your life, but what they mean is the amount of money that they will sue you for. Effectively, any regular working person would be docked for the rest of your life. Because if we're talking like how much money could they possibly have put in an NDA like that? Number off the top of my head, $5 million. Most people will not earn $5 million in their entire life. So the sentence, we will dock your wages for the rest of your life, is actually very purposeful there, unless you somehow win a huge amount of money and then settle the debt. That's a frightening sentence.
Tyra is the sun and the moon because it's her show and she holds your fate in her hands.
If you think about the main season cast photos, where they will slowly just remove people, like they just disappear. It's like Tyra controls who gets to exist and who does not get to exist.
Never thought of it quite like that. Because any elimination storyline across any TV show kind of has a similar idea of like, well, they're not there the next week. That's kind of the nature of the competition to find one person. And then sometimes you see the people come back for X, Y, or Z events, and then they're effectively out of the competition. But to say that she's the sun and the moon and get to just see who exists and who doesn't, I guess in this context, that's true. But that is also quite a strong thing to say. I do feel like we're getting a little bit away from the core message of this documentary here, which should be a real tell-all scenario about this show, because it sounds like a cult, but it's also a TV show, and I don't know any cults that would also be a TV show.
And just
but business and cults
following every order.
There is an overlap,
because Tyra
business
Banks,
and cult, celebrity and cult.
We would do anything for her.
I think fame and validation are two different things, because Tyra was famous. But she wanted to be revered and respected. Designers don't talk about Tyra the way designers talk about Naomi Campbell. I think that's the kind of thing that eats at Tyra. We know Tyra Banks. She is famous. I think she wants more than that.
That is the problem you quite often see with lots of people within the fame and celebrity world. They get known for one thing and they spend the rest of their career trying to get known for something else. It doesn't happen all the time, but it does quite often happen.
You've just seen the beginning of Tyra. She is starting to build an empire. She looks up to Oprah like nobody else.
A baby. I hate this AI.
I don't think Tyra gets the Tyra show if Tyra doesn't do Top Model. I don't think anyone is like, oh,
the Tyra
yeah,
show.
This one girl who did Victoria's Secret, I want to hear what her opinions are.
Tyra wanted me to come on the Tyra Banks show, and the producer called me and said, we'll pay you $750, and we want to interview you about your childhood trauma. And I said, not happening. We all agree that we will just talk about your experience on Top Model. Great. My makeup is done. It's my turn to go get interviewed by Tyra.
Now, I don't really know a lot about the Tyra Banks show. I've only ever really seen a couple of instances from it. I know that there was a reunion episode. We covered a little bit of it in the Netflix documentary. And of course, I also know that she was pretty famous for doing those absolutely bonkers skits. One of them was pretending to have rabies. And also, who remembers Criley Cyrus? Bonkers behavior.
All of a sudden, I hear...
Now, I think everybody remembers Lisa as what people, the fans say, the wild child from Cycle 5.
And then she said, but what you don't know is that she has been physically and sexually abused most of her childhood.
Okay, that's quite an outrageous thing to say on a TV show with someone who has said, you know, we're not going to go there, we're not going to do that. I don't think $750 would have gotten me on her show. I think... I would have said, no, thank you. I had an instance a couple of years ago where the BBC wanted me to talk about Trinny and Susanna, and I did it, and I got paid pittance for such a massive corporation. And they also interviewed me in such a way that I was like, I'm never going to work with this corporation again. Never. And they have reached out multiple times since then. Not interested in talking with the BBC. Nope.
It was like ice in my veins. And then I look over and I see Tyra just sitting there. I'm like, you. I was like, you. I was so livid.
We don't need an AI
The
recreation.
PA really calmly takes me backstage. And then he opens the door to some room and he just closes the door behind him.
They locked me in a closet.
In a closet? They locked her in a closet?
I was in there, I don't know, like 20, 30 minutes. I was like, I don't want to go back. And they're like, well, then you aren't going to get the $750.
Well, you should just say no
And
thanks,
so I go back
bye.
up on stage and finish shooting.
Wait, but that would have been a whole audience there, surely. Okay, that is wild to take someone and put them in a closet. The issue that I have with this is that at this point, Lisa's already had several seasons of experiences with Tyra. Like, of course, if I was in Lisa's shoes there, and I'm not saying I'm perfect, no one is, after having the experience of one cycle and then an All-Stars, and then with what happened with Anjali, and then with also what happened with the crowning, I wouldn't have gone back.
I know Tyra went through a lot, but was she a hurt person hurting other people? Some people could give her that title. But
once you
know,
get
to be honest, I don't think Tyra really reveals herself very much to people.
Once you get to her level of...
You couldn't really get to her in that way.
Yeah.
I wish I could tell you what you get out of this experience except a lifetime of hate comments on Instagram. All I wanted was to have a career and to put money in my pocket. I thought being on the show was gonna get me in. It turned out to be the opposite, actually.
There were quite a few lasting effects after the show. For a period of time, it was uncomfortable for me to eat in public because of feedback about my weight.
After the show, I developed a workout disorder where I would want to burn almost everything that I'd eaten for the day. I became so tiny until a point where I stopped menstruating for 2 years. And I went with a physician and he said, you know, you're now impacting, you're not going to be able to be a mother or have a child if you continue trying to always lose weight and be this thin. And that really scared me.
That's a pretty heavy sentence that we've heard here. And I don't know if she's saying with that America's Next Top Model is the sole reason that she has this issue ongoing in her life. But from a viewer's perspective, it's clear to me that it didn't help it.
Maybe these women would not have had a modeling career anyway. But you promised me something, and you didn't deliver. My life is worse off.
Honesty.
And you own my face. How are you any
That's
different
the
from
problem.
a pimp selling dreams?
That is the problem, isn't it? That your likeness is owned by the show. That's the problem. So even if you have absolutely nothing to your name and can't make any money with anything, and with these prior engagements and requirements to go to places and do things, how can you also maintain like other work? How can you maintain a full-time job if a corporation and a company is like, no, you have to come off and you have to go to this conference that we're hosting so you can sell some CoverGirl? No, you have to. No, you can't be at your full-time job. You have to, because otherwise we will dock your wages for the rest of your life. What was said earlier about honesty has really resonated with me because this show had a duty to be honest with these girls, and it repeatedly wasn't. And at any point, Tyra could have been honest, and she wasn't.
In 2020, it was a moment of re-examination. I decided to go on my Instagram.
What you guys do and the way that you guys would poke me and use my childhood trauma against me day in and day out. It was just so f***ed up. I don't know how you sleep at night.
In that video, it got like 190,000 views, like, I don't know, 2,000 comments, like literally overnight. It just blew up. It opened the doors to where other girls were contacting me because what I had said was exactly what happened to them.
Tyra Banks, you speak on all this female empowerment and building people up and accepting their differences, when in reality, you do the opposite.
Gina! Oh my God, it's a baby! It opened up this
Babajays.
camaraderie, and we didn't feel alone anymore.
I've gone through therapy. I have had a great career in the world of broadcasting, fashion reporting, commentating, and of course, being a mom to my son, Alistair.
Oh gosh,
I've
he's a human now,
being so hard on
not just a baby.
So I've come out stronger.
I worked after the show as a model, but I realized when I would show up to set that I was sick of being the least creative person there. So I made the shift and I started working as a writer. I just wrote my book called You Want to Be on Top, a memoir of makeovers, manipulation, and not becoming America's Next Top Model.
Ta-da! Here it is!
When I started to write down the story and tell the things that happened that I had never said out loud before, and it was surprisingly painful. Like when I saw my own words on the page, I was like, that was a human being that was doing that to me.
I ended up going back to school. I am an award-winning journalist. And I always say award-winning because you're gonna put some respect on my name. You know,
Absolutely.
no matter what I've been through,
You've earned
I'm
the
here
awards,
now.
you get to say that.
Part of the
Award-winning
reason
woman!
why I got into a journalism career was because I wanted to tell stories of people's voices who were silenced, like how they tried to silence me.
Oh, Nikon Z8.
All right, so let's get into it. First of all, we need to have a lot of movement, dimension, and shapes. Who remembers
Is this
those
what
three
Kenya
key
does now?
elements?
Modeling tutorials?
Now I help other aspiring models and I develop them and help them start their own modeling careers with my company, Find Your Light.
Oh, I love.
And I have just gotten tons of models signed to modeling agencies, and it has just been incredibly fulfilling to help these
interesting.
models establish their confidence in themselves.
We didn't see any of this in the Netflix documentary, did we, about Kenya? I did not know this. I did not know that she runs her own, almost like modeling assistance program.
Themselves.
Did not know this.
More neck. Yeah, I think long neck.
It's super important for you to be comfortable. It's important that we feel
Be the change you want to see in the world.
safe and like somebody actually cares.
Being a mom now, the last thing that I want to do is raise two girls who have insecurities. Like, I never want them to feel the way that I did. The last thing this world needs is two more insecure little girls, and for them to go seeking validation from someone who's also going to hurt them.
Boom! If that isn't the tea.
When people go, you're just bitching, it was reality TV back then. Tyra Banks and Ken Mock are still profiting off of the tears and the trauma of girls to this day right now. That's why I'm still sitting here. That's why I'm still complaining.
I think about Heidi Klum, who did Project Runway, but she never actually became like the public character of the show. When you contrast that to something like Top Model, it really is a control exercise to ensure that people understand that Tyra is the alpha and omega.
Yes,
At
that
the
is
expense
exactly what
of
it is,
the
I guess.
contestants.
I refuse to have my legacy be about some stuff linked together on the internet when there were 24 cycles of changing the world.
It didn't change the world, it didn't change my world. It changed the world of the people you interacted with. I don't know what's subversive about making pretty
Is it the
girls
end?
feel bad for not being pretty enough.
There's nothing
You
subversive
can
about
subvert
it.
anything.
Yeah. it's not
Tyra Banks
subversive.
is a woman with all kinds of issues, puppeteering a bunch of girls and giving them issues while she's working out her own issues. Get therapy. You got the money for it.
A scandal. What's this music? Bing. Oh my god! And that's it. They were approached and they declined, as the ancient proverb does go. It's all your fault, Ken Mock. My goodness, my lovelies. This documentary had a totally different vibe, feeling, and expose direction about it, I would say. I feel like we've learned a lot more from actually hearing people speak about their own personal experiences. I do feel a little bit at one point we started to get almost a bit Ancient Aliens in terms of pulling things together one by one, and I do think that that is a little bit of a shame because you don't have to extrapolate and exaggerate about this show. You can just share exactly what it is. You don't really have to speculate a lot about it. People sharing their stories is perfectly enough and powerful enough to really understand what was going on this show. I will say, though, this documentary's use of generative AI of generative AI is just appalling. This company, this corporation, E, has so much money and so much talent underneath it that they did not need to use Gen AI to make bad, weird scenarios. Like, what was that one about sex work? Just being like, oh, this woman in red heels and a red short skirt going down a dark... Like, I don't need... What are you doing that for? We didn't need any B-roll of that. Wouldn't have been like that. That wasn't what Anjali was saying at all about her situation. Actually, it wasn't that even at... It's, if anything, it's so stereotypical and offensive that I'm like, what even is that? Yeah, I did not like the way that they used Gen AI. I liked being able to see a little bit more about what happened to these people after the shows and after this section of the chapter has been closed. It still has not really answered a lot of questions. It's kind of just discussed a bit more about it. Janice also took no responsibility of her part in this show, because she also went on to have her own show that was balmy and not as successful, but completely just as toxic in a way. Yeah, let me know what you think about what you've learned from this documentary and from this video today in the comments below, because it's been a lot. It's been a lot. I will still be continuing America's Next Top Model here on the Chanel. We are currently in cycle 6, and I'm going to take a couple of videos away from America's Next Top Model because I just feel like I'm being overwhelmed by all of the America's Next Top Model stuff that's happening at the moment. Usually at this point in the video, my lovely, I would do a shout out for my top Patreons, but this video is going to be exceptionally long, so if you want to check out my Patreon where we watch other reality TV shows that cannot be shown here on YouTube for copyright reasons or newness reasons, check out my Patreon. The link is in the description box below. And I want to say a massive thank you to all of my Patreons you can see scrolling past on the screen right here, because you are a Marswaj. You're helping the channel thrive and survive. And you know what, my loves? I think I'm going to leave this on the note of, if you want to get involved in reality TV, please keep your wits about you and be hyper vigilant about what they're going to ask you and why they're asking you it. And with that, I'll see you in the next one.